Bill Belichick to get into the pro football. I don't like Bill Belichick any better than anybody else here does. But the man's won 8 Super Bowls, 6 as a head coach, is second all-time on the wins list, and is all-time leading in playoff wins. I don't like the guy any more than you do. I like to see him lose. But this feels wrong, does it not?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I took the second sip of the old-fashioned inside of Roars after cheersing Greg Rakestraw and looked up at PTI and thought to myself, am I reading that correctly? Is that? No, I mean, did this old-fashioned hit me a little bit harder than it usually does here? Yeah, it's pathetic, frankly. And the Hall of Fame voting process, I know, has changed here in the last year or so, which has made it more difficult for, I would say, multiple deserving candidates to enter in a given class. But it just makes you question the entire process. Frankly, I think all the votes should be public. I think there should be transparency involved in this, because not to the Belichick level, but I think we've seen this some with players. Like, I always thought it was a joke that Marvin Harrison had to wait 3 years to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm not this believer of, hey, said person has been waiting their turn.
Mm-hmm.
No. This is not a line at Kings Island. Don't you get the pass where you can jump the line?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, Bill Belichick has a pass that can jump the line. The greatest coach in NFL history is who? Lombardi, Palace, Shula, Belichick. I mean, any sort of Mount Rushmore is including him on it. So yeah, I idiotic. And obviously the Bill Polian news yesterday was a lot of he said, she said. So I know you've got a quote to share from him we can get to later in the show. But, I'm kind of reminded of, I know it's not on the same scale, but, Miles McLaughlin for Mr. Football. What do you get, 60-some% of the vote?
Right.
This guy set the national single-season rushing record. National. And he gets 60% of the vote? Like, I mean, what are we doing here? People, just put your egos to the side. It's an honor that you've been elected to the committees that get to vote on this stuff. Treat it that way. And don't be petty.
A lot of pettiness going around the world of sports. Where's our chief petty officer, by the way? Oh, he's ill today. We hope that James, should that be his unofficial name, James Boyd? Chief petty officer? He's the guy that's always saying, man, I'm here for the pettiness.
I think you would like a plaque with that description on there, but we can make that happen. Like a nameplate of some sort.
I think he'd be a big fan of that.
I just hope he's feeling better. That's what I hope. All right. We will give you all the facts, figures, and the rundown and the checkdown coming up in just a moment here. Mark, we got a fairly big day today, right? We've got some pretty good guest lists coming your way this afternoon or this morning.
Well, we've got Rick Carlisle, who was bumped from yesterday to today,
Yep.
so he's joining us at 9:30. And Thad Mott, I believe, was supposed to join us, but now he's moving to Friday, if I have that correct. Is Kevin, right?
Yes, correct. Yep. Butler plays tonight at St. John's. Thad Mata. Friday, he will join us.
All right. So that's what's going on. We'll continue in a moment on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Checkdown. Brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids online. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Good Wednesday morning to you. It is chilly, chilly, chilly outside, and make sure that the car is warm. Make sure it starts. We've already had a couple of reports of folks leaving their cars outside, and the battery is like, nope, not this morning. So make sure you give yourself extra time. As always, we'll tell you that Purdue basketball is in a little bit of a skid right now. Indiana gets its first quad win of the season. Last night they beat the Boilermakers at Assembly Hall. They get it done 72-67. They led by as many as 14. Purdue got it down to as little as 3 late in the game. But finally, big free throws and a few missed shots by Purdue down the stretch doomed the Boilermakers to what has been a tough couple of weeks for them.
Yeah, and honestly, I think last night was the worst they've played of the 3 games. You know, if you look at the 2 over the weekend, they had chances there late in the games, just couldn't finish it off.
All right, so final score 72-67. That's the first time that Darren DeVries has gotten a win over Purdue in his first year, and that's his first signature win, obviously. Lamar Wilkerson has had a terrific run here, 19 points. Nick Dorn is coming alive. He had 18. Connor Enright scored 5 of his 8 points in the final 71 seconds. Trey Kaufman-Rin looked the best he's looked in a few games, 23 points. Braden Smith struggled at times but had 14 points. Indiana did put together a 21-6 run in the first half, and that was really what made the difference in the game. Hoosiers will play at UCLA on Saturday. Purdue goes up against Maryland. That one will be on Sunday. Also in a game here in the state last night, Kevin, you and Greg Rakestraw drove up to South Bend to see Notre Dame and Virginia. Notre Dame had a 19-point lead in this game. In the second half, Virginia rallies. They forced overtime. They get a double overtime, and they win it 100-97. What happened?
Top 5 worst loss of my life.
And you got to be there in person, so double overtime at least.
The look on Rake's face when I asked him to stay for the first overtime and the second overtime are looks I'll never forget.
He's regretting this being an annual thing.
I'm not sure. I think that's a safe way to put it.
2027 is questionable.
That was brutal. Then we get back to the car in -3-degree weather. I check my phone and have quite the text from someone that I'll share here in a little bit.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. So you had to drive home and listen and watch to the Indiana-Purdue game. Does it bother you yet that Micah Shrewsbury, in his 3 years now as head coach, is 0-14 against ranked opponents?
Yeah, that is a very ugly stat to hear. Just awful. I mean, had a golden opportunity last night, and Virginia hits a 3 there at the end of the first overtime, and, of course, PTSD from the Cal game, should you foul up 3, et cetera there. Just awful. I think that game ended as the IU-Purdue first half was also ending, which is never a good sign for those that are trying to drive back to Indianapolis in -3-degree weather. But I brought Greg Racial some Oreos. He was happy about that.
I'm just glad you both got home okay. That's all I can say. All right, in the National Football League, reports say that Bill Belichick is not getting in to the Hall of Fame, at least on the first ballot. Did not get enough votes this time around, despite the fact that he's got 8 Super Bowl wins, 6 as a head coach, 333 career wins, trailing only the legendary Don Shula. He is behind no one for playoff wins with 31, but then you have Spygate and Deflategate and the fact, Mark, that he didn't treat reporters and the media all that well sometimes. What are your thoughts on what happened, how it happened? There are a lot of people saying that former Colts president and general manager Bill Polian was kind of rallying the troops to tell people that maybe you shouldn't get in that first year because of some of those things. Now, I got a text from Bill last night who said, look, we're not supposed to talk about the things that go on there, but because you and I have worked together for a long, long time, I'll give you a quick quote that you can share. He says, I'm shocked that Bill was not elected. He is eminently qualified. I'm sure he will be elected soon. That's the quote that I was given.
My thought is either you're a Hall of Famer or you're not, whether it's first ballot or whatever. So Bill Belichick had a Hall of Fame resume even before he left for North Carolina. Obviously, that didn't go well, but that should have no bearing on the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All the stuff on the side, put him in. We're always told ignore the outside world with all these things. You got guys that have done much worse things that are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame than Bill Belichick. he should be in.
No
it's
truth.
It's a joke.
No truth to the rumors that an unidentified and anonymous 24-year-old woman is trying to gather all the phone numbers and addresses of people who vote on the Hall of Fame.
I don't blame her.
Yeah, honestly, I think voting should be transparent, to be totally honest with you. I do think that would be a welcome sight. And Jeff, you brought up, Belichick treated the media poorly. Who gives a bleep?
Right. That shouldn't matter.
But
for some people, they're petty.
These are not my children. I don't care how they treated. Is he one of the best football coaches of all time?
He is, in my opinion, probably, especially in the modern era, the best football coach of all time.
So he should be in. And if you want to, Spygate, Deflategate, well, then don't put him on the ballot. Okay? If you really want to, bitch and moan and compare it to Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens or however you want to look at the steroid aspect to it, then go with that. So, yeah, I thought pretty pathetic by the Hall of Fame committee.
All right, we'll have more on that a little bit later on in the show. We've got some basketball stuff to tell you about. City championship last night. Here's some good news for you. Your alma mater, Cathedral, wins their 7th city title by defeating Cecina 65-58. Keaton Aldridge had 20 points in that one. So you weren't without some good news last night, Kevin Bowen.
If I could describe the feeling when Cole Serta hit a 3 to go up 16 last night, and Greg Rakestraw looks at me and goes, "Should we buy season tickets?"
He's not getting off the Notre Dame loss.
The euphoria that every human being should feel the feeling that my body felt at that moment.
Should I scoot over
I
away from you right
thought
now?
I was Joe Namath with Susie Colbert next to me.
That might have started your car this morning if you would have had that same energy.
Both of those things ended the same way, Mark, now that you think about it.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, I heard Cecina had an early lead. I was disappointed that they had to move that game from Tech.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Tech's a great venue, and I get Mother Nature has created some alternate schedules. It sounds like 2-hour delays around, Mark, but still some closings. Is that right for those that are just waking up? I mean, it's absolutely freezing out there.
It's freezing. Yeah, the closings have to be like the heater doesn't work in the school or something, right?
I mean,
Like,
my
break,
car
something
literally
like that,
would
yeah.
not start. I mean, I've done this show for how many years now? 5 years in the morning. I mean, I've never really even had it like, oh boy, is this going to start? And it was as soon as I pressed that start button, it was like, oh my.
I'm glad you got here. Hope the car turns out to be okay. Caitlin Clark has been hired by NBC for appearances on Basketball Night in America starting in February. She'll be on with Maria Taylor, Carmelo Anthony, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, already becoming a media sensation in the offseason. See how that works out. The football schedules and specific dates have come out for both Purdue and Indiana. Highlights for Indiana, October 17th at home against Ohio State. 24th, they'll be at Michigan, and November 21st at Washington. The bucket game will be played on November 28th for Purdue. Their big home date against who, Kevin? Against who? September 26th against the Fighting Irish.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So that bucket game back to a Saturday, is that right this year?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you look at Indiana, that month of October, I know you mentioned the Ohio State game. That is the only home game in that month. And if you look around it, at Nebraska the week before, at Michigan the week after there. So, that will be definitely a notable month. Outside of that, I think it's pretty manageable. Yeah, Purdue's schedule is just kind of wild. You mentioned Notre Dame. They also have Wake Forest. So, I mean, they play power teams galore. Now, their Big Ten slate, no Ohio State, no Michigan. I believe no Oregon and USC, so maybe a little bit on the reprieve side, but hell, for Purdue football right now, they're still trying to crawl.
Yeah.
Boy, what an awful 10 days for Purdue athletics.
It's been tough, man. Somebody, as a matter of fact, I'm looking at the text line, and we'll get to the whole text line in a minute here, but Jeremy from Shelbyville wanted to point out that Purdue basketball hasn't won a game since Indiana football won a national championship.
I'm afraid we're losing the Purdue audience very quickly here.
Indiana Hoosiers have been looking for something to crow about in basketball for a long time because it's been all Purdue. I still think Purdue has what it takes to get it together and make a big run here, but we'll see how it all shakes out. All right, coming up in a minute, we'll get more on text messages that we've both had and how they apply to the big stories of the day. That's coming up next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning. It is a chilly Wednesday, -5 degrees. That's not the feels like temperature. That's the actual temperature. Apparently the feels like temperature, thank goodness there's no strong winds right now, Kevin. That's -11 right now. Can you imagine if you had a big gust of wind coming up, you'd be down to -20 in some cases.
And I think we've had a few 2-hour delays turn into closings.
Yeah,
So-
keep an eye on your phones and
keep an
TVs.
eye out for that. Again, my car wouldn't start this morning, so it is, commute-wise, roads aren't, pristine, but they're certainly very, very manageable. But, starting your car, especially if you park outdoors like I do, good luck.
Man, I'm just glad you got here today. And, of course, James Boyd not feeling well. He'd let us know about that last night. Was really starting to feel under the weather, so we hope he gets better in a big hurry here. You were bringing up some text message exchanges that people might be interested in not too long ago.
By the way, Greg Rakestraw's playing tennis right now.
Indoors, yes.
Well, still, he's up at 7 a.m. playing tennis
He's Greg Rakestraw. Does he sleep?
after a long night with
Do you think he sleeps?
yours truly. Last night, yesterday, just one of my favorite days of the year. Rake told me he picked me up at 2:30. What time do you guys think he got outside my house?
2:15?
2:24.
That's how it works.
He's on Tom Coughlin time.
Mm-hmm.
Car
Do
ride.
you just run outside like a kid, like on winter break when you see his car pull up?
I brought a shovel for us just in case.
Look at that.
Shovel in the back seat. Those are the two things I brought. He told us, Mark, when we had him on.
Any sand?
He didn't want any, Mountain Dew. That's kind of been a go-to here in recent years. But I did bring him a few Oreos. I left those in the car for him. He didn't want to partake in any of them. But yes, literally my favorite day of the year. I was so nervous at halftime I went and got Dorito walking taco. Is there a greater invention than that?
Those are excellent.
And now Notre Dame serves beer.
Oh.
I totally forgot about that. Nice tall boy, two-hearted.
Did they start that this season?
Yeah, football season started in the fall there. But yeah, again, top 5 loss. I ranked it 5th on my worst losses of my life. And I get to the car last night. I am trying to dial up the IU Purdue game. My hands are literally freezing. Ryan Bone and I are trading text about the state of the program. And I get this text from one Rick Carlisle. 3 words. Long ride home.
Ooh.
Drop the hammer on you.
Ooh.
Unbelievable.
You debated whether you should give him the invite last night. I don't think you would have.
Here I
You
was
might have left him on the side of the
thinking
road.
that we should have invited Rick Carlisle. I think I offered up shotgun, did I not, Mark?
Yeah.
And Rick Carlisle texts me long ride home.
Rick Carlisle, of course, Virginia guy.
Is he going to bring more of that up at 9:30 when he joins us today?
I guess we'll have to see.
100%. 100% he's going to bring that up.
Unbelievable.
His alma mater, the Cavaliers, your favorite team, Notre Dame.
Now, how should I have handled that response? Am I allowed to talk? Do I treat that text like it's Mark Dykton texting me?
Did you send a
Yeah, what
response
did
to
you
it,
do?
or did it just go unread?
So would you be good if I said bleep off?
What would Rick Carlisle respond?
I mean, think
in a
about
case
this.
like
If
that,
you are
Mark
a
Dykton?
Purdue fan and you, went to Assembly Hall last night and you walk out to your car and your Indiana buddy texts you that, you're probably not responding in the most politically correct manner. So should I have treated Rick Carlisle like that, or should I have been a little bit more respectful of the Hall of Famer?
I think he opened the door. I think you're
Yeah.
allowed to respond how you want to respond.
I think, yeah, once he drops that, you've been invited into the conversation at that point.
He knows you're a fan. He knows you are emotionally fragile at that point.
Oh, and that was one of the more emotionally fragile states I've been in a while. I'm worried about Rick and I just making it to the car and not falling.
I'm thinking there may be 1 or 2 Rick Carlisle drops incoming later on this morning, Mark.
I got a few more things to share about the day. It was incredible, but speaking of basketball, we forgot to mention this in the check down. No, it ran a little late. Pacers, of course, back in action tonight. They start some home games here after their long road trip. They've got the Bulls inside of Gamebridge Fieldhouse and a massive one for Butler. We talk about this with bubble teams as we start to enter February. Indiana got their first quad 1 win of the season last night. They only had, I believe, 1 quad 2 win going into last night. So Indiana's resume was about as dry can be from a quality win standpoint, particularly for a high major. Butler, they only have 3 quad 1 chances left. Now, they have several quad 1 wins already, but this is one of those opportunities. At St. John's tonight, they're a big underdog, 12.5, which is a huge, huge number here. So, again, the Big East doesn't afford a ton of these opportunities, but this is a huge, huge. Did that come over the airwaves?
That was me. That was an accident.
That was the Virginia fans all around the station. Right there.
Well, no, I was trying to find something. I figured if Rick Carlisle was sending you a
Jeff
text,
can kiss my ass on this Wednesday morning.
Oh, wow.
I figure Rick Carlisle will tell you about that Notre Dame game.
He'll get over it.
You invited us into the chat.
Can you go sit over in James Boyd's seat over there?
Kevin needs some social
Why is
distancing.
Jeff so close to me right now?
I'm good 4 feet away.
That's punching
We're all
distance,
good.
Kev.
We're all good. One other note in college basketball last night, you see Nebraska's undefeated season finally came to an end.
So what do we got?
Michigan.
Arizona, Miami, Ohio. I saw Miami, Ohio escape there. Rake and I talked about the Red Hawks. Pete Suter there.
Did you watch any of the Arizona BYU game?
I did. Yeah, I actually did. I was very impressed by Arizona. That was the first time that I had really seen them. So, yeah, again, Butler, huge one. Just a massive one tonight. They'll get UConn again at home, though I think it's a trip to Nova, if I remember correctly. And remember, St. John's and Butler played a great first half a few weeks ago inside of Hinkle, 42 all at half, and then St. John's dropped the hammer on them. Butler had a million turnovers, so it is a big one on the road for Thad Matta's bunch tonight.
Looking forward to that. And again, Pacers, they're playing, they just find a way. Every time you think that it's just going to be another long losing streak or they can't get things going, they just find a way. And I said this last week. Maybe you can bring it up later on. I think this is when it's all said and done at the end of the season, you might say that Rick Carlisle is having one of his best years as a head basketball coach. I just feel like he's consistently developing guys, finding ways to stay in a lot of games, finding ways to win games you're not supposed to win, like at Oklahoma City. More importantly, he hasn't lost anybody on that team. You see the way that they interact with each other on the bench. They don't look like a team with one of the worst records in the NBA. They're still with each other. They still have each other's backs. And he's done it with a million different lineups already this year.
You're trying to get me to say something about Rick Carlisle positive this morning. Good luck. I'll let you stand on that island alone.
Maybe I should make you chief petty officer today.
Jarris Walker, questionable. Did you guys see Tyrese Halliburton on LeBron's podcast? What is it? Mind the Game? What is it? I forget the exact title of the podcast is. You guys catch that yesterday?
I saw snippets of it. I haven't seen the whole podcast. But.
Yeah, in typical Tyrese fashion, very, very candid about a ton of things. I laughed at his Olympic retell of the story. He said one of their first meetings as an Olympic team, Steve Kerr is explaining, hey, we've got 12 future Hall of Famers in here. It's going to be tough to play everybody. Some of you in this room are not going to play. I believe he shared a story about maybe Kevin Durant's first Olympics, maybe even LeBron's first Olympics. And Tyrese said he's starting to look around the room. He's like, I'm okay. I wonder who the guys are that he's talking about who are not going to play. So he starts scanning the room, and he's like, oh, bleep. He's talking about me.
And he was.
Yes, he was. So I had to laugh at that. But from a Achilles rehab standpoint, sounds like he is doing a lot. He said he actually was playing recently some full court with Benedict Mathurin as Mathurin was rehabbing to get back. And he said Mathurin, first possession down, pulls up, shoots a three in his face. And the coaches are kind of yelling at Mathurin like, no, attack him, try and, test him out here. And Mathurin's looking at him, guys, like, what about the Achilles? And they're like, no. This is what, he's reached this point in the rehab process. And Halliburton says Mathurin comes down the next trip down the floor, hesitation like he's going to shoot the three, drives by and lays it in, and Halliburton's still at the three-point line.
Oh.
And that's when it was a reminder of like, okay, I still have a ways to go here in the old Achilles rehab. But, just some really interesting stuff there. And again, Rick Carlisle joining us coming up 9:30. Chat more about that.
Think about Benedict Mathurin in that moment, though. Even though he's been told this is necessary, please do this. That as he's making that move, he's thinking, I don't want to be the guy that messes this up again. That's in the back of his mind, right? But he did what he was supposed to do. So we'll look forward to the Pacers a little bit later on tonight, coming off that that win against Oklahoma City last Friday night. That was big stuff, and hopefully they can start moving forward and building on that, and not some of the losses that they've had lately. I don't know, how good do you want them to be moving forward? That's the question a lot of people have, though, too, Kevin. I don't think they're in danger of giving up any one of those lottery-protected picks at this point in time, are they?
Well, yeah, I mean, the pick is not. Yeah, I mean, the pick is going to be the Pacers. It's not. I think if they would have kept their pick, it would have to be top 4 on the protection there, and that's where you want to finish. Top 4, I believe, is where the odds start to change. Maybe it's top 3. I need to double-check that. But, again, the odds don't change significantly. I think it goes from like 14% to 12%. But still,
you just don't want to have the 5th best or 5th worst record in the league. You don't want to play yourself out of that. Was my point.
Why? But even then, it's still what, 10%. Like, I mean, it's not like with how they've redone the lottery odds. It's not the most egregious thing if all of a sudden you start
every single percentage I can get
games
for this team, because man, if they get the right guy, who do you like out of the two biggies right now? Do you like Boozer? Do you like DeBonza? Who do you like?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, the Darren Peterson, and I mentioned Caleb Wilson Williams, right? That's those guys to me offer a little bit more of a ceiling there. AJ DeBanza, I mean, I know he really struggled last night or Monday night, but you can certainly see it there. So I'd say him, Peterson, Wilson. That's probably where I'd go. I mean, I get Boozer's extremely polished, but I don't know if the high end potential is necessarily as there. And if you are going to trade a wing, not the positional importance probably needs to be adhered to the most, but there is that thought process, about potentially, finding another wing.
All right. Last night, Indiana comes up with a win at Assembly Hall. They get their first quad 1 win of the year, first big win in Darren DeVries' career as they beat Purdue 72-67. They at one point had a 14-point lead. Purdue got it all the way down to 3 before Indiana was able to hold serve and do enough to win that game by 5 at the very end. After the game, in the locker room, Darren DeVries, head coach for the Indiana Hoosiers, addressing his team.
I'm proud of you. And we went through a rough stretch, and we did. But what you didn't do was you didn't turn on each other, right? You continued to believe in yourself. You continued to believe in the work you put in. And then the details started to come, and now it's 2 in a row, okay? And that's a hell of a win. That's a good basketball team. And you had to earn every single inch of it, which I love, right? They came back at you, and you dug in deeper. And that's what good teams do. They find ways to win, okay? You found a way to win at Rutgers. You found a way to win today. And we're going to find more ways to win. If you keep believing in the details and the work that you've been putting in, because you've been putting it in since June. And when you believe in one another, and we get guys coming, we had contributions from everybody. Everybody. That's what this is about, man. That's the feeling you should really love. Because that's what this game, and I told you at the bottom thing. Number one thing we want to do tonight, just go have fun. Enjoy being together. And enjoy that camaraderie together. Because that's the feeling you can't ever replace. Right? Hell of a win. Let's go.
When you look at their last several games for Indiana, they had a 4-game winning streak going for a minute there. Then they lost to Nebraska. I don't think that's a big shame there. They only lost by 6. They lost to Michigan State on the road. They were thumped pretty well there. I think the most disappointing in that stretch was probably losing at home to Iowa. Then they lost to Michigan. But now, you expected them to maybe beat Rutgers on the road. But how do you even overstate how big that win was for this team? And it'll be interesting to see where they go from here as they head out onto their West Coast trip right now and take on UCLA and USC next. But is this the kind of game that can springboard them up to another level right now?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think what Nick Dorn now gives him in the starting lineup, I think, is very intriguing. For those that haven't followed the Nick Dorn story, he's transferred from Elon. He was one of the few transfers they got with multiple years of eligibility. A lot of these guys are just one and dones, a lot of their main guys. But, you watch Dorn, he had a very nice, I think it was a sophomore season at Elon, but battled some injuries in the offseason. It's taken him a while to get a spot, not only in the rotation, but now starting. And, they're just naturally a little bit bigger when he starts. Tatum Conaway's dealing with the ankle injury. Dorn is much taller, and you saw it last night. Several big shots from him. He was certainly really good against Rutgers on Friday. And if Tucker DeVries and or Lamar Wilkerson have an off night, you have a little bit more firepower in that starting lineup to go with it. So I think that is an intriguing aspect to this team now moving forward. It's a little bit of a different wrinkle than we saw earlier in the season, but to overstate the win, I mean, given their resume, their resume was one of the, from a quality win standpoint, it was one of the poorest in college basketball at a high major level for a team that is with the record that they have. If you look across, quad 1 or quad 2. So just massive, especially when you go out west. Now you feel like, hey, as long as you get a split out west, you are, in a nice position. And they've got a ton of other quad 1 chances coming their way. But boy, it got a little nervy there late. It got a little clinchy, and Joe Dirt, Kenny Powers hit the shot of his life.
Yeah, and in a couple of weeks, too, they got a 2-game road trip. Man, Illinois and Purdue for Indiana. That's going to be a tough couple of games right there. If they could find a way to get a split there some way, then they're probably in pretty good shape, and that would help them out. But, yeah, they have lots of opportunities for more quad 1 wins. But, man, tough on the road. They'll play Michigan State again at home later on. But some of the road games they have remaining after this West Coast swing for Indiana: Illinois, Purdue, Ohio State.
You like the national champs in the house last night?
So did Signetti. He grabbed the mic pregame. I was still living and dying in South Bend during that.
If he did, I didn't see what he said.
I didn't see it on NBC. I didn't see it on Peacock.
Pregame.
Yeah, they came out with the trophy and all that stuff, and they said he was sitting courtside and didn't turn a single person away that asked for a picture or an autograph.
That's the only clip that I did see on social media last night. Is he was just sitting there on the front row, and everybody came up to him. He had a moment for him. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know Anthony Calhoun, the Wish TV team, they got a great shot of him calling Jamari Sharp over in the tunnel. Looked like they played some sort of montage on the Jumbotron before the game, and he called Jamari Sharp over to, I assume, point to the interception highlight there. And looking back on it, it seemed like a pretty good crowd, honestly, for a 9 o'clock game. With Southern Indiana got a lot worse. That was one thing I noticed driving up to South Bend yesterday. They got so much less snow. I'm talking Hamilton County, Kokomo, Peru, Rochester. South Bend got a good amount from that, really kind of apocalyptic snow they got a couple weeks ago. It's still lingering there. But honestly, 31 was a breeze compared to what we have here in the city or even south of here.
I saw all kinds of video yesterday over on the highways, especially on the west side, and you had pointed out that some of it was closed in the morning when we were on yesterday. People still sliding around all over the place on the freeways yesterday.
I was driving home after the show yesterday. I was on 10th Street going past. I was getting parallel from the IMS, and this car was going 2 car lengths in front of me, directly straight, and immediately went to the right and hit a snowbank. I'm like, what the hell just happened? I've never seen that before. You're going directly straight and then just immediately turned and went into the snowbank. I'm like, well, I can't help you, sir. I got a little sedan here. I'm not going to be able to help you do much, so I had to keep on driving. But I was like, what? I don't even understand how that just occurred. It was very odd.
So, again, because of mostly the cold, there's going to be, look and check this morning, most schools were on delay anyway. And, Kevin, you said you're starting to see some cancellations around there.
I thought, and Mark, feel free to chime in, I thought I saw a couple school districts have bumped the 2-hour delay up to a close. So just FYI on that.
I would, our sister station, WIBC.com, does a great job of updating those delays and closings. I would keep an eye on
Mark,
that.
Maybe throw a retweet from the show account.
I will look that up.
On that. So if you follow us on the show account, Fan Morning Show 107.5, Mark will throw a retweet there on some of the school closings. Boy, the Connor Enright shot. Was that one of those no, yes shots?
It worked. Just yes at the bottom of the net.
It's kind of funny. I think back to that play, and Purdue had cut it to 2. Indiana had been.
Was it 2? I thought it was 3. Did they get it down to 2? Maybe they did.
I thought it was, for some reason, I thought 65-63 is standing out in my mind, but feel free to correct me on that. Clearly, I was still in a daze over Rick Carlisle's text. But, you look at that possession, and Indiana had missed front end of a 1-on-1 after front end of a 1-on-1 after front end of a 1-on-1. And, if you're going to shoot a shot that early in the shot clock off of, one pass, you probably want it to be DeVries or Wilkerson of anyone. And, Jack Benter's not really totally on Connor Enright there. And boy, as soon as he caught that ball right in front of the bench, it was just let it fly. And what a shot. Boy, if he misses that, who knows how the rest of the game plays out there. So obviously, whether it's Robert Fennessy or, there's been many other moments in this series that would, bigger shots. But that was a large one last night from Mr. Dirt.
I'll tell you the other thing. I love the word you've been using this morning, clinchy. There was a time late in that game, 5 minutes and less, there were some front ends of one-on-ones that Indiana couldn't quite bring down.
Oh, I would argue that hole on the backside was pretty clinchy when Connor Enright caught the ball there.
Fair.
I mean, what was the lead? 15 at one point, something like that?
I think 14 might have been the biggest, but
and it was just the slow wilts and just the one-and-ones. Anytime the home team misses one-and-ones late, and you just feel the groan of the crowd. And, Purdue, I'm trying to think. They maybe had one possession with the ball when they were down, when it was only one-score game. But, that obviously would have happened there. And Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn, I know they had a couple turnovers, but, they were starting to get going a little bit there. And, I think that's one of the few positives from Purdue for last night. It's like Trey Kaufman-Renn did find a little bit more of his normal self there. But that was probably one of the more animated I've seen Matt Painter in a post-game press conference. He was pretty fired up. If he looks at UCLA and he looks at Illinois, his team had leads 5 and 6 points at those final media timeouts. Last night, I think he was really frustrated with just the lack of hustle and the rebounding advantage. Purdue just had a very slight advantage in that realm, and that is one that Purdue should have a consistent advantage, particularly against a team that lacks some size like that.
Yeah, they had it down to 3 with 10 seconds to go, and then they fouled Lamar Wilkerson, and he made both free throws there, and that was kind of the end of it at that point in time. But they kept battling to the very end.
What was the score when Enright hit the 3?
Enright hits that 3.
Close 2.
I'll double check it, but that made it yeah, you're right. It was 65-63, and then he hits the 3 to make it a 5-point game. So it did get to a 2-point game at one point in time. Right after, I think Braden Smith hit that nice little layup, got up to within 2. So 72-67, that was the final score, and Indiana holds on, and that's a big one for them at that point in time. And all kinds of people checking in there. 1 or 2 people saying that Matt Painter was responsible for that one last night. I'm not sure that I'm going there, Kevin. I didn't see that so much.
I thought, honestly, just, again, a lack of rebounding. And, we talked a little bit about this. I was trying to kind of double screen it there in the first half. But, Tucker Reese hits that early 3 in the game. And, again, how do you guard them? And, I think there were some times where in switches, we've seen it with this Purdue defense this season, they struggle if you can put enough shooters out on the floor. And that's where you look at from an Indiana standpoint. I mean, how many threes do they hit? 10 or 11? You got the box score up there. But,
I'll go get it.
It's not like it was a crazy flamethrower night from 3. I mean, they obviously hit.
They got cold in the second half. They were doing okay in the first half.
A good amount, but from a percentage standpoint, they've definitely had better shooting nights this season there. And again, Purdue just couldn't find that third guy. Lawyer struggled a little bit there. And really, Braden Smith, for how great he's been his Purdue career, the games at Assembly Hall, he hasn't been at that peak, first-team All-American level there. So definitely a little bit of reeling time here. Purdue, I think, has got I almost say it's like Maryland and Oregon the next 2, so should bounce back. But still, losing 3 in a row in the Big Ten, given how the standings are, it's going to be hard to climb out of that hole.
Yeah, Joe said, Purdue fan here, he thinks Matt Painter lost that game last night because they played 27.5% of the game without their best offensive scorer in Trey Kaufman-Renn. Allowing him to sit for 11 minutes is malpractice. It's interesting because our biggest Purdue fan around here, Todd Meyer and I were talking about this the other day. I'm not so sure that he and Braden Smith are 100% right now, and I think to a certain extent, Matt might be managing some of the health with TKR. I'm not sure that he's completely right at this point.
Well, again, it's playing 2 bigs.
Yeah.
I thought Oscar Clough was really poor last night. And in general, I thought, Reed Bailey and Sam Alexis probably outplayed him. And Purdue can't have that. And that's a decision Purdue's going to face. How much do they play the 2 bigs together? And how much do they play Jack Benter? It's the one, I think, real question mark with this team. They don't have the Camden Heide, Miles Colvin lineup change-up that they can go to. That really was kind of their go-to lineup at times last year as they made the run of the Sweet 16. So that is going to be a question as the year continues to move along.
All right, double-check this, but I'm getting some reports that HSE schools are now closed on the text line. So double-check that and make sure that whether it's a delay today or they're just flat out closing it because it is so cold outside, double check before you send your kiddos off to school or send them out to a bus stop where the bus might not come. So coming up in a moment, we will talk more about Indiana's big win over Purdue last night. Also, huge controversy in the National Football League. We'll cover it next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Get you up and ready to go this morning. Mark Dykton getting some people pumped up and out of bed this morning because it is cold outside. And I just got a text from my oldest son's school. They are transitioning there to an asynchronous learning day. So they had 2 snow days in a row. They build the snow days in. They gave them those the last 2 days. But now, today, they have work to do, but they're still not opening the school. And I don't know that it's a terrible idea because it's minus 5 degrees below zero right now. I don't want kids walking around doing things outside.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a little bit of a trend here on this Wednesday morning is if you woke up with a 2-hour delay, double check it because I see some school corporations have bumped that up to now full closure. So my car did not start here on this Wednesday morning. I can't recall in the history of the old Nissan Rogue at the Bowen household for the last 6 years, 7 years, if that's ever happened. So, yeah, it is, especially if you got anything outdoors. Good luck.
Coming down Meridian for about 10 miles this morning, I didn't have any problems there. Again, it's still pretty much just one lane. Mark, you said you were coming off a 10th this morning?
Oh, that was yesterday? Leaving work. Yeah,
okay.
Someone flew off.
How was your commute in this morning? Okay.
Pretty good for the most part. Yeah, no big issues there. Just pretty smooth sailing. I gave it a B yesterday. I would say it held up pretty good, but I saw some of the side streets got those snow drifts from the wind and everything yesterday, so they were getting a little covered up. So probably another plow or two needed, but main roads, 65 south, all good. All
right. We'll keep an eye on that throughout the morning and check your son or daughter's school message system, see if you've got a delayed start today or they're going to be home. That's a tough one when you find out the morning of that there's not going to be school, because for a lot of folks, they got to figure out childcare, Kevin. It gets tough right away.
Yeah, it's about bigger kick in the you-know-what is me watching Notre Dame try to close that out last night.
We'll talk some college basketball right now. Indiana gets the win. Darren DeVries gets his first big win and a quad one win, first of the year for Indiana. And it just feels, I know it's 3 games in a row that Purdue's lost now, but they're still, I don't know. Again, I was talking with a Purdue fan the other day. It doesn't seem like Trey Kaufman-Renn, Braden Smith are quite right. I know that there's been a litany of things with Braden Smith who just keeps playing through everything at this point in time. It doesn't feel like they are their best selves right now for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know if I point to that as much last night. I mean, I know Braden's game wasn't certainly one of his best, but like to me, Purdue lost because of other things. I mean, Trey Kaufman-Renn, what do you have?
And give Indiana credit.
20-some points in 29 minutes. I mean, you would obviously take that. They really didn't get help from anybody. Fletcher Lawyers played really well in this series, didn't really do much. Again, I thought Oscar Clough, it's been a nice find. I thought who would dictate to who? We debated that so much yesterday. Would Purdue's bigs dictate to Indiana's kind of stretch floor of Dorn and DeVries? And I think Indiana won that matchup there. And really, Matt Painter's, I think, frustration post-game, to me, was much different than UCLA, was much different than Illinois. Both those games you had leads throughout, I would say, particularly late. Last night, I mean, did Indiana, I'm trying to think, I wasn't following the game, obviously crazy close in the first half, but I mean, Indiana probably led for what, 80, 90% of that game?
Mm-hmm. They had a big run there, 21-5, I think, at the tail end of the last third
I know
of the
Purdue,
half.
Had a little bit of a lead early on, but outside of that, that was a game that Indiana really had in control until, Purdue made that late run, and then Kenny Powers hits the big one.
So Indiana gets the big win there, and I kind of like the fact from the standpoint of just watching them, feels like they've kind of got a big 3 coming together right now. I mean, Dorn has been a big part of that lately, and we know that Lamar Wilkerson has been terrific, and they've gotten other contributions, but it feels like they now have like 3 guys they can count on most nights, which is always good to have.
Yeah, again, Dorn in the starting lineup, it's kind of come at the expense of Tate Conaway's injury, but, he gives them a dead-eye shooter and provides another option for teams that, understandably have so much attention towards Tucker DeVries and Lamar Wilkerson. And again, shout out to Connor Enright for last night. People will remember the shot and really the free throws. He made the 2 free throws then after that, if I'm not mistaken. But that dude played 40 minutes. I mean, he's not out there because he's hitting shots playing 40 minutes. He's out there because he's guarding Braden Smith. Mm-hmm. And, Braden Smith had one of his quieter, probably higher turnover, certainly assist to turnover ratio, one of his higher games of the season. And I think Enright was a huge part of that. So, the game ball, it probably goes to Enright because of the shot. But honestly, him being asked to play 40 minutes with Conaway hurt, to me, was huge. And, certainly will be a big storyline when these teams meet here in a few weeks up in West Lafayette.
And Braden Smith is just ridiculous. We're talking about one of his poorer games. 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He did have the 4 turnovers, and he did still have 2 steals. Even his quote-unquote poor games, they're pretty solid. But could have used a little more last night. But anyway, Indiana wins that one. Gritty checking in. You saw this one, Kevin. She says, as a Hoosier fan, this has been the best January of her life. IU football winning the national championship, basketball beating Purdue, watching their fan base meltdown on X. Life is good. There's nothing better than when Indiana's going poorly, Purdue just revels in that, and now it's the other way around for a minute.
That is a rivalry. Yeah, Purdue fans want to jump in that snowbank out the window right there.
So that's kind of what's going on again. The other big thing in college basketball last night, we did mention Nebraska. I don't think anybody had this on their bingo cards this year, being undefeated until the very end of January, but that came to an end against Michigan last night. Dusty May's team got them by 3 points, but I don't think Nebraska's going anywhere. That's a good basketball team. They were right there down to the final possession or two with Michigan last night.
Do you think it's creepy when me at 36 years old is stopping a 38-year-old male on the concourse of Purcell Pavilion and telling him how much I loved watching him play?
Were you wearing his jersey at the time?
No, I just had a Notre Dame sweatshirt on last night.
Okay, well.
Is that creepy?
You want to name who that was?
So excited. Kyle McElharney. Right after the first overtime.
How excited were you when you met him? Did you say, hey, man, good to see you. How you been?
Well, he was sitting a couple rows behind us. Thank you to the great Ryan Owens for Greg Rayshaw and I's tickets last night.
Where'd you sit?
Excellent viewing experience inside of Purcell Pavilion right there, Section 12. And I see Kyle McElharney on the Jumbotron, and I loved him when he played in Notre Dame. Loved him. And the Maui tournament, he shot the lights out. And so, boom, there I am running to the bathroom in between that, overtime period. And I see him, and I tell him, I think about the Maui tournament a lot. And he looked at me kind of blank for a second. I thought, oh, bleep, I really screwed that up. And then he finally realized what I was talking about, and he couldn't have been nicer.
Nice.
And after that, I thought to myself, A, I'm a top 3 loser right now in the state of Indiana.
No.
And B, that's good vibes going to the next overtime. And then Virginia hits a 3 to force a second overtime with 3 seconds left. And
were your hands all sweaty when you talked to him and everything like
Rick
that?
Carlisle texted me long ride home. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a Mark Dykton text.
Remind folks who are just joining us, University of Virginia former player, alumni Rick Carlisle. You and he are texting about times to come on the show today. And what did he drop into your text message field?
I got to the car last night. Rake and I, by the way, Greg Rayshaw, just such an excellent driver. Unbelievable, his effort last night. And I looked down at my texts, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, maybe Rick needs to adjust his time. I butchered it yesterday. I thought Rick was coming on yesterday. I forgot to reread my text. And so I opened up the text, and it's just long ride home.
He'll get over it.
I mean, again, that's like a Mark Dykton text. I think Mark sent me the exact same text when Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois a few years ago.
And then you were getting in the car with Rick, and you thought to yourself,
It was time to, get the out of there.
Should I have been the more mature human and said to Rake, we can leave at the end of regulation or at the end of the first overtime?
Well, you're already up there. You've driven all that way. I know you got a long way to drive home, but
do you think Rake really wanted to stay?
It's an annual trip. You're kind of in it for that, aren't you?
I mean, the man had tennis at 7 a.m. this morning. If his backhand's not getting over the net because he didn't get enough rem, that's on me.
That tells me that Rakestraw is a champion, and it doesn't matter if you got home at 5 in the morning, he's still going to play tennis. He's a machine.
He is a machine.
By the way, one Rakestraw story I'd love to share, and I could talk about the trip for 3 hours if you guys would like, but I realize there's other things that are more pertinent to talk about here. But he shared a really cool story. So Rake is on, I believe, the High School Hall of Fame selection committee, which I guess we're talking about a lot of Hall of Fame selection committees right now. And so in Newcastle, I think in the fall, they have a public forum. So literally, if you are, I guess you guys didn't go to high school in this state, but if I were Kevin Bowen and I really felt strong about some former Cathedral basketball player deserving of a Hall of Fame spot, I could show up to the public forum and I could get my opportunity to speak. And Rake said This year, and I believe he said it's happened for a couple of years, and this guy finally got in, you had Scott Martin, former Valpo player who now does Notre Dame radio, and Robbie Hummel, former Valpo player alongside Scott Martin, show up on behalf of their high school coach.
That's cool.
Show up to Newcastle on a random whatever October day and partake in the public forum. And they got their head coach into the Hall of Fame. So
Love
these are that tidbit and 68 others Greg Rakestraw shared on the trip up and the trip back.
Yeah, it's almost hard to have a conversation with Rick because you don't want to interrupt his thought flow because there's always great stuff that he's coming up with. And I find after spending time with Rake, if we go out to lunch or do whatever, I'm asking him questions all the time. Say, hey, what did you think of that? Or, hey, did you see that thing the other day?
You should have seen this man on the radio dial on the way home. He knew every affiliate in the northern part of the state. Like it was he was a wizard. He looked like Phillip Rivers dissecting an opposing defense. He knew where the South Bend affiliate was. He knew where the Rochester affiliate was. He knew where the Kokomo affiliate was. We had IU coming in crystal clear on the radio. It was Mozart I was watching. And at the same time, he's driving in inclement weather.
Mark, here's the question. Do you think Rake is regaling everyone around him with stories about his trip with Kevin Bowen last night?
Absolutely not. It was a night to forget.
It was a Tuesday for him,
Did he post
right?
anything on Facebook? I saw he was on Facebook at one point.
It was a Tuesday for Rake, right?
Rake rattles off affiliates like I try to rattle off my kids' names sometimes, and I screw those up, and he was flawless.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he'd be appalled I said Caleb Williams instead of Caleb Wilson. Last thing, couple old fashions before the game. Great time inside of Roars. We cheersed. I was on high. I thought I just climbed Everest.
When it was a 19-point lead for Notre Dame, what are you thinking?
I thought we're going to make the tournament.
Tarps off is what Kevin was thinking. Shirts off, Rake. Let's go.
I did think for a second there at the end, there's some wild end of the game moments. I thought, will Rake judge me if I storm? Would Rake have allowed me to storm the court?
Would have held you back.
Is that where I crossed the line? I'm
No,
nervous about
buddy.
the Kyle McElharney interaction. Should I have been nervous about potentially storming the court?
I feel like I know Rake well enough to say I think he would have said, hey, Kevin, do your thing. I'll be right here waiting when you get back.
Joe Brady to the Bills. Does that mean Lou Anarumo's done? Is he still here?
I think he's...
New York, Tennessee, Buffalo, right? He interviewed those three places.
Mm-hmm.
They're all filled.
And Tennessee got Dable as their offensive coordinator yesterday. You see that?
Did see that. And
I think that's a strong move by
That
them.
is. That's a good staff all of a sudden.
Now, did I see correctly, potentially the Raiders he's still interviewing with, right? Cardinals, Raiders, and Browns. Is that what we're left with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No one wants that Browns job, it doesn't seem like. Do you hear all the litmus tests they're given for their interviewees?
Oh, no.
They're giving them like
shady?
they're giving them
Personality
like
tests.
corporate personality tests. You know how a lot of corporations will make you take these personality tests? They wanted guys with some of them head coaching experience, a lot of longtime coordinators. They wanted to come in there and like fill out like an hour-long test, as if they would almost test some of the questions and tests that they give like potential draftees, guys that are like 21, 22 years old. They want guys with head coaching experience or longtime coordinators to come in and like, hey, we like your body of work, but can you do this for us? And so a lot of guys are like, no, and left.
Sounds like the Hall of Fame committee trying to dissect Belichick.
Speaking of text messages, so Bill Belichick, if you're just waking up this morning and haven't been paying close attention because you've had other things to do, the National Football League Pro Football Hall of Fame, they always, Super Bowl weekend is when they announce who the class is going to be and all those kinds of things. It was leaked yesterday, a report that Bill Belichick did not get enough votes to go in on the first ballot. And nobody's disputing that report. And a lot of people in the media, Kevin, were blaming Bill Polian for making speeches or kind of working the room or working people saying, hey, this guy cheated in Spygate or this guy did this or that. You shouldn't go in on the first ballot. Now, he's come out, and I asked him about that last night in a text message exchange. And Bill said, quote, he said, you can use this. He says, you and I have worked together for a long time. Here's a quote you can use and attribute directly to me. Quote, I'm shocked that Bill was not elected. He's eminently qualified. I'm sure he will be elected soon. Unquote.
Colts-Patriots rivalry just won't go away, even in the Hall of Fame.
It's back
The
on.
rivalry is back on.
how that goes. I don't know how any objective voter, though, could look at Bill Belichick's career and not put him in the Hall of Fame. You made this point at the beginning, and I've made it in the same point I've made with baseball over the years. You're either Hall of Famer or you're not. This gatekeeping stuff, well, there's only going to be so many in this class, and this, that, and the other thing. I understand you got to have a class every year to have a big event, and that doesn't seem to be a problem. But just, is someone a Hall of Famer or are they not a Hall of Famer? This stuff, baseball in particular, well, he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Look at some of the players that have not been first, most players that have been, not elected in their first ballot in Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame. 15 of the 20 greatest players of all time, 17 of the 20 greatest players of all time couldn't get in on the first ballot. What is that about? You either are or you aren't. Is it that hard? Really?
So, are we going to have to wait for Tom Brady then? Is Tom Brady not a first ballot Hall of Famer?
That's what this would suggest, unless they wake up and get publicly humiliated.
Yeah, I think the lack of transparency, first off, the pettiness, it really bothers me. I think, those that are on the committee should, treat it with such an honor. And I don't get the whole, other guys have been waiting longer. I don't give two bleeps. This is not a line at Holiday World to get into Splash and Safari where the Bowen family needs to wait behind the Dykton family. No. If you're in Holiday World and after last night, if Connor Enright shows up, that man's going to the front of the line. If Fernando Mendoza shows up, he's going to the front of the line. Bill Belichick goes to the front of the line over, Ken Anderson. I guess we should probably dive a little bit deeper into it. Basically, you had 5 finalists: Roger Craig, Robert Kraft, ironically enough, L.C. Greenwood, and Ken Anderson. And the committee is allowed to vote for 3 of the 5. And you need at least 80%. There's 50 voters. So you need 40 of the 50 to vote. And now you have to, of course, rank, those 5 in an order. I mean, if you give me those 5 names, how is Belichick not 1 at the very low end? He's 2, and there's no real debate. I don't care how long Ken Anderson has waited. I don't. And again, we've changed the Hall of Fame voting here in recent years. It's why Adam Vinatieri wasn't a first balloter last year. It's a joke. It's why probably Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald will be the only ones to go in this year's class. They wanted to be more selective. And I can, again, I don't love it, but whatever. I can listen to that a little bit here, but to me, it just seems very petty. And again, I thought after a couple sips of the old fashioned, I was seeing things last night on the TV at the bar when I saw that Belichick news pop up here. Didn't he do his penance? Whatever. To me, it's just sour grapes, and the Hall of Fame committee is not here to settle old scores. They're here to pick who are the best players and best coaches in the history of the National Football League.
Couldn't agree more.
You don't go past 2 names before you name Belichick.
Mark, we desperately need a quote from Jordan Hudson today, don't we?
I'm sure they're dialing up somewhere in Chapel Hill.
Maybe they'll put out a beach picture. They're on vacation in the Caribbean somewhere right now, avoiding the cold.
We're on to the Bahamas.
Yeah, we're on to Nassau. Let's check it down, Mark.
Jordan, you have any SPF 80? I could use some.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
We lead with college basketball.
Mark, that's some of your best work.
That's the line of the week.
Mark's bill. I didn't think I'd laugh on this Wednesday morning after what I had to witness last night. But Mark, thank you.
Jordan, can you get my back real quick?
Is that like removing the hair or just putting sunscreen on?
Either or.
Yeah. College basketball. Indiana gets a quad 1 win last night, but they did it against Purdue at Assembly Hall, 72-67, with national championship head coach Curt Cignetti in attendance. They got 19 from Lamar Wilkerson, 18 from Nick Dorn, and they've handed the Boilers their 3rd straight loss, but a 72-67 win. Probably most important for the head coach Darren DeVries, his first win over Purdue, but a quad 1 victory desperately needed by the Hoosiers.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, that was their first win in 7 tries, even quad 2, if you want to stretch it to that. Their resume really lacks there, so it was vital that they got that last night. And now for Purdue, They're reeling a bit. It's 3 in a row, and yes, Nebraska did lose last night, but still, you're going to have about as perfect of a month of February to get back in the Big Ten race. And, who knows if it continues to kind of go down this path. Are you looking at, some sort of 5 seed in the tournament, making it a tougher path to try and get on a run here? So definitely two very, very different fan bases waking up here on this Wednesday morning.
All right, you mentioned Nebraska. They did lose to Michigan last night, 75-72, their first loss of the season. Also in college basketball in the state of Indiana last night. Kevin, you were in attendance. Notre Dame had a 19-point second-half lead, blew it to Virginia, and lose in double overtime, 100-97 mark. Are you looking forward to the conversation between diehard Notre Dame fan Kevin and former University of Virginia player Rick Carlisle later today?
Without question. Must-listen radio right there. I'll be dialed in.
You already got a text message from the coach letting you know how things went.
Yeah, I didn't really appreciate that.
He'll get over it.
Still, I think the big thing, though, too, Kevin, honestly, start to think about things. Micah Shrewsbury has not been able to beat a top-ranked or just a ranked team, 0-14 during his time there. Are you becoming concerned with your head coach, Micah Shrewsbury?
I'm disappointed.
All right.
I'd like to see him run it back, though.
All right. We talked about this a moment ago. The National Football League reports say Bill Belichick has not gotten enough votes to get into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. All he's done, Mark Dykton, 8 Super Bowl wins, 6 as a head coach, 2 as a coordinator, 333 career wins overall, second all-time, 31 playoff wins, most ever. And a lot of people say that he's being punished for Spygate, Deflategate, and that certain people, including Bill Polian, were working the room saying, hey, we got to let this guy wait a year for all those sins. It sounds ridiculous to me. Bill Polian told me via text that Bill Belichick belongs in the Hall of Fame and he'll get in soon.
So we're still in the he said, she said. Did Polian vote for Belichick or no?
Did not say.
Okay, then.
The quote is, I'm shocked that Bill was not elected. He is eminently qualified. I'm sure he'll be elected soon.
Should they have kept him off the ballot if the cheating was really an issue?
That's where you'd start if you have a problem with that.
Should they have never even got – I mean, hell, if they could have played that AFC Championship game with a beach ball and the Patriots still would have thrashed the Colts.
You think Bill's out there somewhere going right now, oh, we're on to Wake Forest? That's got to sting, right? It's got to sting.
I was hoping Mark would chime in there.
Well,
Yeah, I was too. I set you up there, Mark.
I was trying to think because there's no audio of him actually saying it, but wasn't there a quote out there that I guess he said what else do I have to do, basically?
There's nothing anybody else could do. It's just wrong. I'm not a fan of the person, but as a coach, come on. There's not even words. It's ridiculous.
Well, again, to me, if vetting the cheating level, once you get at this point of the Hall of Fame selection process, that seems to me like you decide, we cut down these lists from, 120 to 15 to 5. If you really have an issue, get rid of it at the start. Go there. Say, hey, as a selection committee, we have decided that due to his off the field allegations, off the field, whatever, I guess it's on the field. But due to that, then he's not even going to be on the ballot. To me, once you put him on the ballot, now you're evaluating him just like everybody else.
I got 3 words for you. Kiss my ass.
That's what I wanted to say to Rick Carlisle last night.
We're on to Georgia Tech. That's probably what it is right there. City championship last night, high school basketball for the boys. Cathedral over Cecina, 65-58. Your alma mater claims their 7th city title behind 20 points from Keaton Aldridge. So it was not a complete loss for you last night, Kevin. Some good news in your basketball world last night.
Yeah, I don't give 2 bleeps.
Wow.
Congrats.
Taking it out on the kids now. You see that, Mark?
Congrats to them.
Disappointing, Kevin. Be a bigger man.
Shows you how I am as a human.
Anything else you want to throw in?
Yeah, got to mention Butler and the Pacers, right? Pacers back in action tonight. Butler, a massive one at St. John's. We talk about quad 1 with Indiana. Butler's got some substance on their resume. They actually beat that Virginia team I watched last night on a neutral floor, but still, Butler needs a little bit more, and tonight they'll have an opportunity. They are a 12.5-point underdog to St. John's. St. John's, I believe, has won 6 in a row. Started with that Butler game. Huge second half. Again, 1 million turnovers for the Dogs back in that matchup a few weeks ago. And the Pacers now, after a long road trip, will have several at home. Rick Carlisle will join us here in an hour. They got the Bulls tonight. Jarris Walker is questionable. The Pacers are actually probably the healthiest they've been all season. Like outside of Obi, that's it. And of course we'll see about Walker's status for tonight, but this is the healthiest they've probably been all year.
Mark, how you feel when the Bulls and Pacers are playing? Where you at on that one?
Go Pacers. The Bulls are dead to me. They're just running in place, not trying to compete. All they want is the 10th seed to compete for a play-in game. Seems like they're right on pace for that 39-win season that they annually get. So, yeah.
I did think
Pay
it was
them
pretty.
no mind.
I did think it was pretty cool the nice warm welcome back they had for Derrick Rose the other night. That was cool.
Yeah, that was glory days right there. That is not the case the last 10 years or so.
When did they become dead to you? When did you just kick them out?
Probably after the Derrick Rose years went away, and it just seemed like the management staff was just like set on just like, hey, we're just gonna keep the same guys and run it back every year, and we're not gonna compete necessarily. We're just gonna kind of run in place.
Were you surprised that Derrick Rose had such great things to say about Thibodeau?
No, I think he loves Tibbs. Tibbs is a great coach, but he also has a shelf life because he tends to run the players into the ground with how much he uses them in minutes and context.
But
you don't need him out there in Charlotte in April when you got the second seed.
But I thought it was
locked up.
interesting that he went out of his way to say my injury had nothing to do with Tom Thibodeau or anything like that.
No, yeah, he fell wrong in a playoff game.
All right, that's what's happening in the world of sports. Coming up in a moment, we'll talk more about this Hall of Fame voting and Bill Belichick. Also, we're about an hour away from Rick Carlisle, the head coach of the Indiana Pacers, stopping by. I know Kevin can't wait for that one. It's all coming up next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Well, with Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton, I'm Jeff Rickard. Chief Petty Officer James Boyd out today. Not feeling all that well. We hope he gets better very soon. It is dreadfully cold outside, and if you've got kids this morning, you probably already know, but if you don't, check your phones, check the TV. That delayed start may indeed turn into, hey, just don't come into the building altogether. I know some folks are going to have asynchronous learning days where you just have to do your assignments from home. Other folks are just, hey, it's a built-in snow day, take that. So check with your individual school and see what's going on there. For your kids, what did you guys get out in Brownsburg, Mark?
Back-to-back days of 2-hour delays so far. I've not gotten any word that they are canceled, so they had a snow day on Monday and then back-to-back days of 2-hour delays.
Yeah, I've got one kid with a delay and one with asynchronous learning. You don't have to worry about that quite yet.
Brownsburg tough, Mark. No wonder you guys win state
They're
titles.
state champs, right?
Bulldogs, baby. Bulldogs. Can you guys believe it's been 219 days since Tyrese Halliburton hurt the Achilles? It's a long time. 219 days. You mentioned that he's doing a lot of things now, up and running in the rehab and actually playing some basketball these days, right?
Yeah, Mark, you got a little bit of audio, right, from that?
Yeah, he was on the podcast with LeBron, and he was discussing not only his rehab, but also how he's trying to get better himself once he does finally return to action.
Process has sucked, man. Like, there's been good days, bad days. There's days where I sit there and I just keep asking, like, why is this happening to me? It's hard for me to understand in this moment, but I understand that it's allowing me to grow in different ways, to grow in my faith, to grow in all these different ways that have been good for me. I think seeing the game of basketball, I'm watching it in a different light. Like, I think it's different when you're getting ready to play like a team like Boston, for example, and they're like, okay, we got Peyton Pritchard. I'm like, okay, he's nice, but all I'm focused on is how can I get a stop. I'm not thinking about how he making his reads and stuff. And I was watching him the other day, and just the way that he gets to guys' bodies at the rim, that's really something that I'm trying to focus on through my rehab, through my time to get back, is just being more physical. Peyton's one of the guys I watch. I see the way he can get to a guy's chest at the rim. I think AR is like the perfect example, the way that he is so physical and can get to the free throw line. I remember when we were at the World Cup together, I used to always be like, bruh, I don't understand how you shoot all these free throws. Like, I'm a point guard. I play 40 minutes a game. I play way more than you. I can't even touch the free throw line. He's like, Tyrese, I don't think you're doing a good job of getting the guys' bodies. Like, he was real honest with me, and I didn't understand at the time, but as I've watched you guys play more, watched him play more, I'm seeing the way that he just does such a great job of getting the chest, tangling arms, like making such all these like perfect reads to get to the free throw line is just something that I'm really trying to focus on adding through rehab and just as I watch the game.
Even when he's hurt in rehab and he's worried about how can I be even better when I get back.
I don't know how you're not a Pacer fan, and every time you listen to Tyrese Halliburton talk, especially in settings like that, you don't walk away, just come blown away by how he's wired. And, again, his candor with all of this. Obviously, the Oklahoma City environment was too much, he felt like, for him to be there Friday night. But yet, it's not like amidst all of the doom and gloom and the long nature of this process, he still is trying to get better. I mean, he brought up Peyton Pritchard and Austin Reeves. I don't know if certainly Pritchard wouldn't be on a bingo card of something to bring up there, but Tyrese is right. If you're really going to nitpick, one part of his game, it's probably, he doesn't get to the foul line maybe as some other guys do. So it was a great listen. I listened to all of it yesterday, and, he told some funny stories about the Olympics, and he kind of shared where he was at, in a workout process, actually doing some one-on-one stuff with Benedict Mathurin here recently as Mathurin was trying to get back onto the floor. He also talked about that in-season championship game a few years ago against LeBron and the Lakers. And he mentioned that, in that game, the Pacers lost after beating Milwaukee out in Vegas. And he felt like that was a big moment for the franchise to later make that trade for Pascal Siakam. And how, maybe if the result of that game would have been different, maybe they don't have as much urgency to go I think they traded for Siakam at that deadline, if I remember correctly. So again, just anytime you hear Halliburton, I just find myself, A, educated, and B, I think if you're a Pacers fan, you are just really obsessed with how much he loves the game and wants to get better. Sounds like he's put on some weight. I don't know how much of it is great weight.
He talked about cookies and ice cream.
In his words. So, I'll be curious, once obviously October rolls around, later this year, exactly where he's at weight-wise. But, I think maybe that could help him in his pursuit to get to the line a little bit more.
Yeah, it's hard to work out as many hours and burn as many calories when you are still trying to rehab what you got going on. Mark, you said there was another great story that he was talking about that you found as well.
It's the one I pulled. So Kevin listened to the whole thing. I don't know if he heard anything else of note that was in there, but
yeah, I brought up the Olympic one earlier.
Yeah.
I guess for those that missed it, I shared a story about Steve Kerr, at the start of the Olympics saying, hey, we got 12 Hall of Famers in this room. Not all of you are going to play, blah, blah, blah. Told the story about Durant and LeBron and their early Olympic experiences. And Tyrese is like, oh, yes. And then I'm looking around the room thinking to myself, okay, yeah, who's not going to play here? And Tyrese says he starts scanning the room and he's like, oh, bleep, I'm not going to play. Which, was kind of a funny story that he shared there. So really enjoyed that that back and forth. And, I also think credit to the Pacers for really committing to the full rehab early. Obviously with the Pacers record, we're now debating, how much is Pascal Siakam even going to play here down the stretch. But, there's no flirtation. There was no pressure to think of the what if. It's interesting how in our market, the Halliburton side of it versus the Daniel Jones, it'll be about 9 months for Daniel Jones, and it'll be about 16 months for Tyrese Halliburton. It's two very different, processes here with their respective injuries, respective Achilles injuries.
Yeah, plus if you're a basketball player, it's constant running, jumping, cutting, stopping, shifting, sliding. I mean, that's literally all you do, not to say that the demands of being an NFL quarterback aren't unbelievable, but a basketball player, it's just different with a basketball player. And so you look back at guys like Kobe Bryant when he came back or Kevin Durant when he came back, they'd come back. So there's hope for that. And now you pair him with a lottery pick and Pascal Siakam coming back. It'll be interesting to see who else comes back around them. And I guess we'll continue to keep an eye on the countdown for the trade deadline to see if the Pacers move anybody to try and improve their front court. And that's really where they need to focus right now.
Yeah, 8 days away. Week from tomorrow, trade deadline. Rick Carlisle going to join us coming up at 9:30 today. Pacers Bulls inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse tonight.
Mark, did we mention that Rick Carlisle is a Virginia guy?
I don't think we mentioned it. We should probably mention it again, though.
Yeah.
That text again, Kevin, you got from him yesterday evening?
On the way back from the Notre Dame game?
Yeah.
That Virginia won?
I was so mad. So mad. Did you guys watch? You guys probably didn't care about it. You guys didn't watch it. Who am I kidding?
I did not watch the Notre
Dame
game.
I saw the highlights. I saw him to double overtime.
You see that three the kid hit to force him to double
overtime?
overtime?
Saw the highlight, yeah.
Just brutal.
He'll get over it.
One thing I want to credit Greg Rakestraw for, as he might be driving back from his early morning tennis hitting session. Thank you, Rake, for driving yesterday. One of my favorite days of the year, bar none. Rake allows me to kind of hit him a couple times during the game. Just kind of get my energy out.
How much force are we talking about?
I would say love
an enthusiastic shove?
Yeah. I think it's a love pat, but, it's probably, I'm 36 years old. I probably should grow up at some point here. But, big threes from Cole Serta, Braden Shrewsbury, Jalen Harrelson, big takes. I need a fist pound.
Were you and your brother texting back and forth?
I need a high five. I need a little, jab to the side, and Rake allows me to do that.
You and your brother texting back and forth during the game at all last night?
We exchanged a few. But Rake, he's my therapy session at these games.
I've
seen Notre Dame lose to Citadel with Rake, and I've seen them lose in double overtime to Virginia on a night that I thought I was going to storm the floor.
Sounds like Rake is very tolerable of your antics. That's what I'm getting from this whole road trip.
He's a tremendous human, and I'm lucky to call him a friend.
Do you think when Rake
and I did appreciate Rick Carlisle texting me long ride home when the game ended.
Do you think Rake, when he's putting his schedule together and he looks down on it and he's talking to his wife about what game he's got tonight or whatever, and he goes, oh, and by the way, Tuesday night, I've got that thing I got to do with Kevin Bowen that we do every year.
It's like a make-a-wish for him every single year. I bring this guy out with me.
All right.
Should I invite Rick Carlisle, or is he going to look at me like, why the hell would I ever do that?
He's going to tell you he only hangs out with winners and tell you to kick rocks.
I thought Mark had stolen his phone when I saw that text last night.
We'll talk
to
some
appreciation for Rick now that he's talking trash to you, knowing you're down, knowing you're hurting, and he's sending that to just needle you a little bit more as you have a long drive back from South Bend.
You want to send us to break, Kevin? You can get out of this. More
There you go. That's all we needed.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Still some time for college football. The dates have come out for schedules for both Indiana and Purdue football, as have many other college football programs around the country. You always know what the schedule is going to look like. You just don't always know what the dates are going to be, what the home and the road. You generally have an idea on that. Indiana this year will open at home with North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky, and Northwestern before they finally go on the road October 3rd. Their big games this year. I think, do you call at Nebraska at this point in time a big game on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I would say October is kind of the notable month. I mean, obviously the biggest game speaks for itself. It's October 17th. I assume that will be big noon kickoff, Indiana and Ohio State. Because that's the one thing that I think is, and I can say this when James Boyd is out, that's the one thing I think that is missing from the Cignetti, era so far is the truly marquee home game. I don't think Illinois qualified as that last year. Certainly
not at the end.
With how Indiana just beat the you-know-what out of them. And even Michigan year one, this big noon kickoff, whatever, game day. I mean, you could be looking at 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3. I don't know, a couple top 5, top 10 teams. So yeah, October 17th. And, look at that month, Jeff. It's at Rutgers, at Nebraska, home to Ohio State, then at Michigan. Mm-hmm. So I think that month is what stands out. You get USC at home in November. I think that's a good thing. You do go to Washington right before Thanksgiving.
That's always dicey. It's always tricky.
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously they have had their offseason drama with their quarterback, and then Purdue's schedule. I mean, the non-conference includes Wake Forest and Notre Dame.
They open with Indiana State, and you're right. Wake Forest at UCLA, and then Notre Dame. You going to go to that game?
Last night has me questioning fandom.
You'll heal. Time heals all wounds.
That's a loss where you question fandom.
You're going to be okay.
Why do you do this?
What would that have, if they would have pulled that off and won it? Would that have been a top 5 win?
He was ready to storm the court. Are you kidding me?
Mark, again, I can't explain to you the feeling. I want everyone in life to have the feeling I had when Cole Serta hits the 3 to go up 16 and Greg Rakestraw looks at me and goes, should we get season tickets? I couldn't. I know it's my job to do this. I can't properly put into words the euphoria that went through my body.
You're already writing the text to Maddie. I'm not going to be around for a while next year. We're going to a lot of basketball games with Rake.
How do you think that would go over?
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Maddie's super supportive of my Notre Dame fandom. I could not thank her more. I love her.
Your brake's might be working if you would have bought season tickets, though. Wouldn't have been the car not starting, but the brake's not working.
Yeah. When the car didn't start this morning, it was a look in the mirror moment, too.
Long ride home, Mark?
Has she responded that you took her car and left her with a no car, basically? Is she going anywhere today? No, I guess not anymore.
Not now.
She's got to get the kids off to school. So, luckily, she's a very smart woman, and we'll figure it out.
Did you call AAA or anything like that?
No, what do? You just hope and pray, right? It'll get warmer. What should I do? Should I flood the gas? Is that what you do? Flood the gas, probably not the right phrase, but, hit the gas pedal.
Don't flood the engine, yeah. I mean, turn the key or push the button and rev the accelerator a little bit, see if that gets it going.
Is that the trick?
I was worried last night because lawyer wife came home from a trip with the girls, and they didn't get home till midnight, and the car's been sitting out in the parking lot the last 4 days. And I left my phone on thinking, you know what? It's going to be 12:30 in the morning. I'm going to get a phone call. I got to go take care of that. Fortunately, the car started, and she got home okay.
Trip to Paris, trip up US 31 with Rake. How do you balance those
I think
two?
if you got that win, your trip is as good as any trip, right?
No, it's the greatest trip of all time. Again, Rake said I'll be there at 2:30. He was outside at 2:24.
Now, are the Oreos you gave him regular double stuff?
They were 3 double stuffed, and then that was the final of the double stuffed. And so actually, Maddie had bought just the regular kind. So I put a 4th in. I thought 2 for me, 2 for him, and I was so disheartened after the loss. I think I told you I was so nervous at halftime. I went Dorito walking taco. I'd gotten great pretzel with some beer cheese before the game. I actually went with the salad, tried to offset it.
You know what I've learned?
Kind of funny on that, but I was in the eating nervousness, so I went there. I went the 2-hearted tall boy. I was feeling great.
Mark,
I love it.
I've learned that between you and Kevin, both of you, your love language are snacks.
I mean, Doritos walking taco. That Kevin's right in my synergy.
Well, these are all good.
We're having cohesion right now.
I mean, Doritos. The only reason I want Max Bowen to play Little League baseball is so I can go get Doritos walking tacos. I mean, is there anything better? I mean, it's a top 7 food out there ever.
I had people say they didn't know
any
what
taco is.
They didn't know what a walking taco was, and I said, your childhood must have been horrible. What do you mean you don't know what a walking taco is? Like, that must be an Illinois thing. I'm like, I don't think so. I think it crosses state lines. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't want to know you if you don't know what a walking taco is.
Any kind of taco. My favorite thing to go get is Mexican food.
Are we back to Saturday for the bucket game? Or is it on a Friday again this year?
November the 28th. I thought that it was going to be Saturday this year, but I'll double check that. That is a Saturday.
Saturday of Thanksgiving, so back to that normal slot there. Yeah, I don't even want to. I mean, I guess Purdue's running the back with Ryan Brown. Is that right? At quarterback?
Try to build on something up there.
You were a little higher on their season than I was.
Because they started at below zero. And they just had to get back to some kind of a baseline here.
Are you describing like the weather today? Wake up -7, go to sleep at 2, and that's a win.
Dude, if you woke up tomorrow and it was 32, would you take it?
Oh my! I'd walk down Meridian naked if it was 32 tomorrow.
I feel like it was 18 degrees yesterday, and I was like, I'm sweating all of a sudden.
Yesterday felt balmy to me.
Yeah. I was shoveling the sidewalk and everything so we can get our trash out, and I was like, boy, I don't think I need this jacket on.
I mean, Rake will speak to it when he joins us Friday. I mean, you could have seen us walking on this campus. I mean, I went ski cap. Rake, he regretted not having the scarf with him.
I think I speak for all of us. We're just happy that Kevin wore a shirt to the Notre Dame game.
Like I said, if he would have won, I would have shirts off. He nudged Rake, and Rake would have looked at him like he was...
Shout out to Brady Kaler, the Cathedral product. He played really well last night for the Irish. Nice to see a little local flavor there.
All right, coming up in a moment, we will talk a little bit of football here. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is doing what? I'll tell you about it next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
72-67. Braden Smith down the court. Drives it left. Pulls up. Fakes. Throws up a three. Short. Rebound. Fletcher Lawyer. Ball game. And Indiana has pulled it off. The Hoosiers knock off the 12th ranked team of the country, the Purdue Boilermakers, their arch rival, and they'll walk out of here tonight with the biggest win of the season. 72-67.
The one, the only Don Fisher on the call, not long after a national championship call in football. He gets to call the first big win of the Darren DeVries era, a win over Purdue at home, their first quad one win of the year, so that was good too. And, of course, you were taking part in college basketball last night, Kevin, as you and Greg Rakestraw took the trip up 31 north to South Bend, watched Notre Dame and Virginia, a double overtime game, and people are checking in. Indy Finisher on the fan text line at 239-1070 says, KB, is your wife jealous of your affection for Rakestraw? Like, I've heard of being appreciative, but this is borderline man crush confessions. Notre Dame fandom seems to be a distant second. If you had to rank them, what would it be?
It's best that she doesn't know.
I think
Has Rake ever gotten a "you up" text from you?
No comment.
maybe after a late Notre Dame game.
You know what? I know we ripped the streaming services a lot, but Peacock was excellent on the drive home. No issues there whatsoever. It was nice to be able to consume that entire second half and really the clinching nature of how that game turned. And boy, what a shot. What a shot by Connor Enright. And shout out to him. You know, the shot will be remembered, the 2 free throws to follow to ice it. But man, he 40 minutes. He's the only IU player I think that played 40 minutes. Taking Connor away, dealing with that injury. You need Enright right now. And, you know, obviously the assignment of Braden Smith is first and foremost. And he really, for a Braden Smith type game, if you would have told Darren DeVries at the start of the night, you're going to hold Braden Smith to 14 points, 5 assists, and 4 turnovers, he'd say, where the bleep do I sign up for that? Mm-hmm. And again, Connor Enright deserves a huge amount of credit for that. And then that was one of those shots. It might have been no, yes, but nonetheless, no fear from him whatsoever. If you're going to rock hair like that, you probably have no fear.
Yeah, he scored 5 of his 8 points in the final 71 seconds. Did a great job defensively last night. And we've talked about Nick Dorn a lot today and the contributions he's made, and that Indiana is going to be a tough team when their big three get going. But I still got to talk about the consistency of Lamar Wilkerson because I'm watching him last night. He is smooth, Kevin. He's just a smooth scorer. When he steps into that jumper from 3, smooth stroke. He's just consistent, and they need that consistency.
Yeah, Matt Painter, I know, has compared him a little bit to James Blackman Jr. I think he's probably a little taller, but I could definitely see where Painter's coming from on that. And, you know, the Dorn element is, I think, what can be different now the rest of the season for Indiana. You know, there are different iterations of every professional college sports team throughout the year. You know, seasons are long. What your team looks like in November could be totally different. You know, if you want to play the Notre Dame basketball thing, Marcus Burton, their best player, whatever, broke his ankle in game 8. So, you know, what they look like earlier in the year is a lot different than what they look like now. For Indiana's case, Dorn had an injury early in the season, kind of took him a while to get back and then really earn a spot in the rotation. And now I think the Conaway injuries opened up the door a little bit for this, but you know, they've needed another starter, and he's much different. You know, it's not the same player. You know, Conaway's more of a, you know, creating, I should say, point guard, whereas, you know, Dorn's just kind of a dead-eye shooter at 6'6", 6'7". Shout out to all the kids heading to school this morning. But it's a different element that I think makes this offense even more potent. And I thought you saw that certainly at the Rutgers game with what Dorn did, and even last night, you know, statistically, you know, he definitely hit some open shots, and that's now a different looking Indiana team. We'll see when Conaway gets back, but, you know, they have gotten a little bit more depth, which I think was needed. And I'll be really curious to see if there's now something there. Like, are they a different, better basketball team? Because it is, personnel-wise, it is different than the team they threw out there a month ago, or maybe even the team they threw out there against Nebraska or Iowa. So, you know, how much now can they ride that. They go out west, don't they? After this?
Yep. They do go out west. As a matter of fact, Indiana's next game comes on Saturday at UCLA, and then they'll play USC a few days later. Purdue is on the road at Maryland on Sunday. NBA, Pacers returning home tonight. They'll take on the Chicago Bulls, 7 o'clock tip time, 6:30 airtime here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. It's going to be an interesting week. Chicago at home tonight, Atlanta at home on Saturday, and then they have Houston on Monday, the Jazz on Tuesday. It's a 4-game homestand. Opportunity to get a couple of wins here, Kevin, this team, and they've been playing a little bit better lately. They had the big one, obviously, 2 games ago against Oklahoma City. They played pretty well until the very end, I thought, against Atlanta on the road. And so these 4 games at home, I think they gives them some opportunities. We're looking forward to hearing what Rick Carlisle has to say coming up in a little bit.
Yeah, Jarris Walker questionable for tonight, right foot bruise. And again, this is probably the healthiest the Pacers have been all season. Obi Toppin, the one that remains out. But if you look at it, it's pretty much the group you thought coming into the season. Obviously, you knew Turner's gone. Halliburton was going to be out for the year. This is pretty much it outside of Obi. So, we'll see about Jarris Walker's status for tonight after he had a nice road trip there. But yes, home games and, really this week in general, they play tomorrow, or they play tonight, but then they don't play again until Saturday. So we could be looking at the rare Pacers practice tomorrow or Friday.
Curious when we think Obi Toppin might be coming back. Middle of February, March-ish? Do we know?
Yeah, I thought Rick said nothing, February at the earliest. And, I don't know if we've asked him.
I've not heard
maybe
a thing.
I should throw something his way when he joins us here coming up at 9:30. But, I do think you get into this period of the season where, any little ailment, and you got to think long and hard about it. And I know it's not really the Pacers' mindset, and then other teams are much more open in their tanking, and the Pacers have really not been about that outside of probably a couple years ago with Malcolm Brogdon and company. But, is that a thought that becomes a little bit more forefront, especially after the All-Star break? I mean, the All-Star break's nearing as well. We're just a couple weeks away from that. So, the All-Star break is always weird in the NBA. It's more like a final third of the season.
Mm-hmm. Indiana is still in last place in the Eastern Conference, 11-36. Hard to believe they're 5-5 in their last 10, and they're 11-36. Second worst record in the league right now. Actually, they're tied. They're 11-36. I guess percentage-wise, New Orleans is 12-37. So, all things on track, at least for a top 4 lottery pick at this point in time. And again, Rick Carlisle coming up in about 25 minutes from now as we continue to talk basketball. Caitlin Clark, you hired by NBC. She'll get appearances on Basketball Night in America, and the first one comes up on February 1st. She'll be part of the crew now with Maria Taylor, Carmelo Anthony, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady. Now, you heard we got all excited because Michael Jordan was going to be a part of Basketball Night in America, and that just turned out to be kind of an interview that they played and not really him commenting a lot on like current events or current players or things like that. What do you think Caitlin Clark's role will be talking about the NBA? What do you see there?
Well, I assume she'll be like an analyst, right? Like on set?
It's hard to, I would think that, but then we kind of saw Michael Jordan kind of come and go, and it was in a very controlled environment where it was just him talking to one guy almost in an interview setting.
Well, I mean,
it's a little different, I know.
Yeah, I know. Caitlin Clark is Caitlin Clark, but I don't know. Michael Jordan strikes me as someone in a little bit of a different zeitgeist than that. Yeah, so coming up, this is Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Will be her first appearance. Sounds like she'll do
February
a couple
1st,
of these
yeah.
here. So
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Lakers and Knicks, I believe, is the first Peacock game or first NBC game coming up on Sunday here. So, yeah, I mean, she's certainly, the times you hear, get asked basketball questions, which not always a given with how people treat her. But, yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And sounds like she's following in a little Leah Boston footsteps, right?
Let's go. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for that. Do have a new head coach to talk about. You guys saw Joe Brady gets the head coach in Buffalo, and we were talking about offense, defense the other day. When Josh Allen was said to have had a say in who the next head coach is going to be, are we shocked that Joe Brady as offensive coordinator is the guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe a little bit just of the lack of experience, but And I know Brady's been a highly sought after name around the NFL. This was the LSU OC back with the Joe Burrow teams. And, clearly Josh Allen, I assume, thinks highly of him. So, again, this one's a little different. You get younger. You obviously flip the side of the ball here with Buffalo. And he's our first in-house promotion here of any of the openings. And again, we talked about it earlier in the show. I assume this now takes Lou Anarumo off the board. I don't think he has been reported as being interviewing with the Cardinals, the Raiders, and the Browns, the final 3 openings there. So I think, especially if Jim Bob Cooter and the Eagles do not come together, we could be looking at a very calm Colts offseason in terms
true
of
run it back.
Coaching turnover. Yeah, defensive line, Charlie Partridge off to Notre Dame, but that's it, really.
Yeah.
Do you think any other Colts coaching changes are on the forefront, or you see it's going to kind of run it back just like the GM and head coach situation?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, Mark. I don't, nothing of substance.
Right.
Assuming Anarumo is back, assuming, and like I was never in the, I know some people were in like that, yeah, I want to be done with Anarumo, and I'm not in that camp. Obviously there were some defensive issues last season. I think so much of the defensive problems in recent years is personnel based. And again, schematically, you obviously made a change from Gus Bradley to Lou. And I think Lou's scheme, this idea of trying to be more multiple, trying to be more creative, more innovative, more week to week, et cetera, less vanilla, I think that's the right path to go down. I just, in today's NFL, there's way too many advantages for the offense, especially from an officiating standpoint, that to me, you need to be more defensively creative, more unpredictable on that side of the ball. I think that's a right path to explore. So, we'll see how the personnel changes, because again, that's been our big debate here in the offseason, and we'll start to get some answers in about a month. I think we're about a month away from the franchise tag window. Open it up, and the combine's less than a month. Obviously, you start to get some news there. That's when the DeForest Buckner trade really came to fruition, a handful of years ago. So, to me, I was not, I think you can have defensive disappointment for the season, but I don't put much of that at the feet necessarily of Lou Anarumo in year one.
It's Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd off today. I'm Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton over there doing his best Bill Belichick today. And speaking of Belichick, he apparently not going to be going into the Hall of Fame on his first ballot. And I know the NFL world is in an uproar over that. Everybody's been talking about that. Trey Wingo, who hosted NFL Live on ESPN Radio for a couple of decades, kind of does his own thing now. He was very outspoken on what this means and what it sounded like yesterday.
Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Simply makes no sense. Adam Schefter and Don Van Natta and Seth Wickersham broke the story on ESPN that Bill Belichick fell short of the 40 votes necessary out of 50 to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is not about production. This is not about performance. This is punitive. The reports are out there that Bill Polian, a Hall of Famer himself and the longtime rival of Bill Belichick when he was the GM and the head coach. He wasn't technically the GM, but he was the GM and head coach of the Patriots, and Bill Polian was the general manager and the architect of the Peyton Manning-led Indianapolis Colts. Their rivalry goes way, way back, and the report is that Bill was the one politicking the room to say that Bill Belichick should wait a year. This is, quite frankly, a terrible look for the NFL. It's a terrible look for the Pro Football Hall of Fame voters, and it's just embarrassing all the way across the board. By every measure, Bill Belichick is the best. Only Don Shula has more wins. 17 division titles, 19 playoff appearances, 24 seasons as a head coach, 17 straight with at least 10 wins. That broke the record that I thought would never be broken by the San Francisco 49ers, who did it 16 straight seasons in the 80s and 90s. There is no world in which Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
So reached out to Bill Polian last night via text, and Bill said, look, I'm not going to come on because you're not supposed to talk about things that go on in that room. But he did say that, he and I have been working together for a long time, so I'll give you a quote, and you can attribute it to me. And so what Bill Polian wrote back last night was, I'm shocked that Bill was not elected. He is eminently qualified. I'm sure he will be elected soon. That was the quote.
Was there a smiley face emoji that
There was
followed?
not
and
a
stuff
smiley.
like, I'm shocked he didn't make it. Wink, wink.
Nope.
Nudge, nudge.
Nothing there.
The rivalry is back on.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Just crazy. You're either a Hall of Famer or you're not.
Should Spygate or Deflategate push him to the second year?
Apparently, a few people think so. I am not among those.
He was never suspended by the NFL, correct? For either of those infractions?
Say it again.
He was never suspended? He
He
got fined. I don't recall a suspension ever taking place.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'd have to double check that. My brain's fried this morning.
So Sean Payton got suspended when he did Bountygate.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I saw it yesterday, I thought to myself, so is Brady going to be
Right.
not a first ballot Hall of Famer? If you want to equate his involvement, I guess not necessarily Spygate related, but I my issue is when we get in these awards era and we start selecting, people for these awards, I just think there's so much personal agendas that go with this stuff. And I don't agree with it. I go back to what we saw with the freaking Mr. Football Award and Miles McLaughlin. I'm like, wait a minute. This dude set a national single season record. How long have we been playing high school football? And this dude set a national single season record, and he gets like 60-some% of the vote for Mr. Football. Because what? Because he plays in 3A? I just, that made no sense to me whatsoever. And we've seen iterations of this all the time, from a Hall of Fame standpoint. The Baseball Hall of Fame is notorious for some of this stuff. And we've, I think, even seen in the NFL. And, you listen to people describe their voting process yesterday. I felt like, Robert Kraft deserved to be above Belichick because of the CBA. I'm like, well, really? And Ken Anderson's waited a long time. Is that part of it? To me, this is not a line where we all just wait our turns. I'll continue the analogy I've said all morning long. We're at Kings Island, and just because the Dykton family's been waiting longer doesn't mean if Joe Burrow doesn't show up at Kings Island, Joe Burrow's going to be cutting the Dykton family. That to me is how it is. And if Belichick is on the ballot, we have deemed him clean enough to be on the ballot, if you want to bring up a steroid cheating aspect to it, then you're evaluating the resume at hand. And the resume at hand is one of the best coaches in NFL history.
Kevin, as much as I love all of that and the analogy, it would have been better if you just said Brett Favre instead of Joe Burrow.
No, I was trying
cutting
to
in front of the Mark Dykton
analogy
line. I get that.
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
Or Aaron Rodgers would be even better for you, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it, Mark?
No, Aaron Rodgers tries to cut me. I'm going to cut him.
I would love to see. Boy, Mark, that was dark. I would love to see the votes be public.
They should be public. There's no reason to keep them anonymous.
And I think in today's
either stand behind what you say or you don't.
Today's content-driven society, don't you think it'd be great if you were allowed to then produce content? You said Bill Polian's not allowed to discuss what he said. How great would it be for Bill Polian? Doesn't Bill do podcasts? Doesn't he have a podcast, I think? Or at some point he did. Okay. Have a podcast about why you voted for the people that you voted for. Explain yourself. I think I would.
A lot of guys do come out and say, "Here's what I did."
Well, he's clearly not.
Yeah.
Transparency in the process, and maybe it would help explain it. Maybe honestly, if we heard from that side of it, we would get a little bit of because I don't think this is much rooted in the, from what I've heard from some, it's not necessarily rooted in the Spygate, Deflategate aspect to it. It's more of again, Ken Anderson's had to wait a while. And Robert Kraft helped, collectively bargain the league back together in 2011. So I think it'd be good if we heard and felt full transparency in the process. That's why I enjoy doing the show for 3 hours. I think if you, listen and you're able to explain yourself, if you can't explain yourself in 3 hours, 15 hours a week, 15, 20-minute segments, then you're probably not doing a good enough job with it. So that's how I kind of view it.
It's like with baseball where they're no one really gets unanimous votes and stuff. There's always Ichiro, he's a Hall of Famer, but he didn't get a unanimous. Who's the guy not if you can see Ichiro Suzuki and say he's not a Hall of Famer, then I'm confused about your credibility as a voter. So if you are looking at Bill Belichick's resume and you're saying, nope, not a Hall of Famer, I mean, you have to give me some merits as to why you say that. And I'm also questioning your actual voting process going forward.
And again, just show your work, Mark. You might have a lot of debate material that I'm not seeing. there might be some obscure reason that, you are voting in the manner that you are. And by all means, tell us, show us. It's great content. I think it makes for a great back and forth. It allows transparency in the process, which is the most important part, in my opinion. Because, of the 50 voters, how many of them are members of the media? And Jeff, like you brought it up earlier, well, Belichick was mean to the media. Who gives a bleep?
And that was my point, by the way. I was not defending the media at all.
Right. But I'm like, this is not one of my children here that I'm evaluating. I'm evaluating an NFL head football coach.
On his merits as a head football coach.
Not on his North Carolina time. It's a Pro Football Hall of Fame, too.
Like I said, there are unconfirmed reports that a 24-year-old woman is now collecting names, addresses, and phone numbers of Hall of Fame voters.
Jordan, send out another text. Let's find out who these guys are.
Mark, with that being said, let's check it down.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
All right, we'll let you know that the Indiana Hoosiers got a quad one win last night. It so happened that it was at Assembly Hall, and it was against the Purdue Boilermakers. 72-67 the final score. Did not come easy at the end. Led by as many as 14 points in this game. It got down to as little as 2, but in the end, 5 of the 8 points scored by Connor Enright came in the final 71 seconds. Some big free throws there. Lamar Wilkerson led the Hoosiers with 19. Nick Dorn had 18. Trey Kaufman-Renn, nice game with 23 points. Braden Smith had 14. Indiana used a 21-6 run towards the end of the first half. They get a big, hard to understate how big that win is for Darren DeVries.
Yeah, massive. Just absolutely massive, especially from the resume aspect to it, probably more than anything. And also, if you want to take a step further, again, the resume matters the most. But also, you won it without a crazy flamethrower night from behind the arc. Now, obviously, some nervous moments late as you missed 3, I believe, front ends on one-on-ones there. And Connor Enright had to take one of the no, yes shots to ice it. But big time from him and guarding Braden Smith. Again, I think maybe they found a little something with Nick Dorn in the starting lineup. And then on the Purdue side of it, that's probably one of the more animated, frustrated I've seen Matt Painter after a loss. I mean, they got outplayed. And the UCLA and Illinois games you could point to, first off, historic performance from an Illinois individual, but they just didn't finish in those games. Last night, Indiana was the better team for the vast majority of that game.
All right. Also in college basketball last night, Michigan brings an end to the undefeated season of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, 75-72 there. And in-state Virginia came from 19 down in the second half, double overtime, beat Notre Dame 100-97. Mark, do you think with Rick Carlisle coming up, there will be a discussion about Virginia-Notre Dame this morning?
There might be. There might be one or two.
Kevin, will you bring that game up, or you would just let Rick lead the way on that one?
I think I might be over it.
All right. College basketball later on tonight. Butler plays at Georgetown. That one starts at
Marcus snickering in there every time we talk about this.
8 o'clock airtime on 92.7.
Some
Fuego.
friend support from behind the glass today.
He's going to be muttering about that game to himself 10 minutes after the show's over. You know that, right?
Well, when his car doesn't start again or something.
Don't remind me.
NBA tonight, the Pacers return home. They will take on the Chicago Bulls. That one starts at 7 o'clock, 6:30 airtime here at 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan, 2-point favorites, Mark Dykton, for the Chicago Bulls over now your Indiana Pacers.
I would take the Pacers. Bulls stink.
All right. In high school basketball last night, city championship has taken place. Cathedral wins their 7th city championship. They beat Cecina 65-58. Keaton Aldridge had 20 points. Have you seen Keaton play yet?
Yeah, he can play at Detroit, I want to say, where he's going next year. Julian Smith also, a nice player for them. Shout out to the Crusaders. Cecina getting there is a hell of an accomplishment. It sounded like they played really well early in that game. So a little love for the east side there, SCECINA.
All right. Also in high school basketball, we saw the latest super rankings coming out in the Indy Star. Fishers, this is all classes. Fishers ranked number 1 right now, Crown Point 2, Silver Creek 3, Plainfield 4, Mount Vernon 5, and the Luke Ertl run continues there. It'll be fun to watch him play as we get into tournament time coming up pretty soon here.
It is scary how much high school basketball Greg Rakestraw and I went through yesterday.
Oh, anything in particular you want to share with the class?
We would need to do the show until noon.
All right.
I think at one point he brought up the Caston comments.
No.
We stumped JMV on the college of Ruth, or the high school of Ruth Riley. God, what a great day.
Where did Ruth Riley go to
Two
high school?
sports nerds just in heaven.
Now that you bring it up, where did Ruth
North
Riley go?
Miami, for one of the greatest athletes our state has ever seen in Ruth Riley.
All right. Anything else you'd like to throw in at this point in time?
You mentioned Butler.
Yeah.
Big one tonight. They are a huge underdog at St. John's. Again, quad one opportunities. Well, I know we're nerding out about this. The Big Ten offers more than the Big East. Indiana's got, I think, 6 more left, even after getting one last night. Butler's got some substance on their resume. They still need a little bit more. So at St. John's is one of those opportunities. But again, Vegas, no respect. 12.5-point underdog. We saw these teams meet a few weeks ago. Really the tale of two halves. 1 million turnovers for Butler. Anytime you play Rick Pitino teams, obviously that's a big storyline. So gonna need Stink Robinson to be really, really in control of that ball tonight. 7, what'd you say on Fuego? 7:30 tip?
Yeah, because they got a late start tonight. So no, 7 o'clock tip, 6:30. Yeah, 6:30, 7 o'clock tip over on Fuego 92.7. Right. Or I think you can see that one on Peacock too.
I think
tonight.
That's a cocker.
Boy, Mark just literally stood up out of his chair right there.
Wearing the Indy 500 hat today, second day of IndyCar Media Day, Content Day, whatever they like to call it. Reminder for our IndyCar fans out there, the month of March is a whole lot different this year with the IndyCar schedule. They go St. Pete like usual, but then I think it's Phoenix, Arlington, and I want to say Barber, all in the month of March. So, I thought they've kind of slowly gotten into the season. In recent years, not at all, which I think is great. It's a kind of a quiet time, and look at the weather outside, and hell, it'll still be like this in March. No one knows.
All right,
I welcome it because I hate when the season starts and it's like, oh, we'll be back in 3 weeks or something.
Right,
Like,
exactly. It's like St. Pete and then nothing till April.
All right, so just to double check now, St. John's tonight for Butler on the road, 7 o'clock start, 6:30 airtime on 92.7 Fuego. In case there was some confusion there. You can also watch that on Peacock. All right. Rick Carlisle, the head coach of the Indiana Pacers, and Kevin Bowen relive all the highlights of last night's Virginia-Notre Dame game next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable. Mark Dykton, I'm going to go out on a limb and say our next guest has probably heard this fight song a time or two.
I'd imagine he knows all the words to it probably, too.
Oh, gosh. Congrats to the Virginia Cavaliers on the win last night. The Pacers back in action tonight. Pacers and Bulls inside of Gamebridge Fieldhouse. We head to the Payless Liquors hotline right now, and it is the head coach, Rick Carlisle. Coach, good morning. Congrats to your Hoos.
What a game. Gosh, it was unreal.
Tremendous game. Great back and forth. Yeah, shot making. The shot to send it into the second overtime, I probably won't get over for quite a while. And yes, as your text did say, it was indeed a long ride home for me. So thank you.
Well, it's hard to root against either team as that game was unfolding. I mean, both teams were just going so hard. Virginia was trying to figure out, how to get back into it and then how to get over the hump. And then, Notre Dame just, young team. And, I don't know all the players, but, Micah is over there coaching his brains out and going, just doing everything possible. His son hits that one shot, and you think, yeah, that's it, But, Virginia's experience, and I guess in the end, showed through. And the smallest kid in the court had quite an impact, Mallory, for them. So it was a great win for them, and I'm sure there will be a lot of growth for a young Notre Dame team.
Indeed. Are you a college basketball watcher a lot, on off nights, or how much college basketball do you watch, would you say, during the season?
I wouldn't say a lot normally, but I'm quite familiar with the Virginia team because I was down there a lot this spring and fall, and probably saw, I don't know, anywhere from 15 to 18 of their practices, and got to know the team very well. And Ryan Odom I've known for ages. He was a ball boy when I was a player back then and back in the 80s. And he's obviously doing a phenomenal job. So I have an interest in it. And so I watch their games when I can. They had a very disappointing game against Carolina on Saturday. So that was really tough. And then, the first half of this game last night was even tougher. But they found a way. So it was quite a night.
It was. Chatting with the Notre Dame staff before the game, and they were very, very impressed by what Virginia has done this season. Obviously, you saw that when the game was on the line last night. Again, Pacers Bulls tonight inside of Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Rick Carlisle and company back from a long, long road trip. I did want to start with certainly one of the individuals. You go back to that Thunder win, Coach, and that is Jarris Walker. You've brought up the word force a lot with him and where you want to see growth. In particular with him, where have you seen him grow here over the last few weeks, few months?
Really in all areas. His level of experience, he's experienced a lot of the highs and lows that young players go through. The expectation of being a high draft pick and just feeling like it's going to be an opportunity is going to be handed to you. And then, in our case, we acquire Toppin and we trade for Siakam, and really it's like the door was shut on the 4 position for him. And then he really has transitioned over to the 3, and he's played a lot more 3 than 4 over the last couple of years. But he's doing very, very well. I think that's obvious. His running is really good, shooting the ball great. Driving the ball he's made a big uptick in his ability to drive and finish. We know defensively that he's a guy that has some special abilities with his length, strength, ability to get his hands on balls, things like that. And then the rebounding's always been there. So he's doing well. And so now the challenge is to maintain and to continue to move forward.
Again, Rick Carlisle with us here. Pacers and Bulls tonight, their first game back from a long road trip. I was kind of reminded at the game last night, both teams certainly was looking over the bench to their respective laptop challenge areas throughout that game. You brought it out. The camera had a great shot of it. You brought it out during the Atlanta game, during a timeout. I assume for some sort of teaching method. Is that something you do a lot? And I guess in regards to that specific situation, what are you trying to go for when you in game are looking at a specific whatever play or sequence of plays within a timeout, not necessarily a challenge situation?
Well, we have the ability to bring the laptop out at any time. It's legal, and I mean we bring it out virtually every time out. A lot of times it's concealed, within the crowd of players around the bench, around the coach's seat or whatever. But a lot of times Jim Boylan will bring up a defensive clip, and he'll place the laptop on my chair before I get in there, and they'll talk about it. And a lot of times it'll be a defensive coverage. More likely in recent games, it's a transition defense clip. Transition defense has really probably become the most important coverage in the NBA now because teams are playing so fast. And it's not like the old days where you run back and you get your man. Now you've got to run back and get a man. And so where it becomes challenging is a lot of times with the centers because they've been taught all their lives to run back and protect the rim. And now you've got to get a man. And a lot of times the center is late getting down. Sometimes the center now is the first guy down in the corner. And when your center is the defensive guy and he's getting back and he's gravitating toward the rim, and then there's a wide open guy playing a small forward position on top that he should be guarding, that's trouble. That's 3 points. And so communication and all that kind of stuff has become even more important.
Rick Carlisle with us here again. Pacers Bulls tonight inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. They'll have a couple days off, and then it'll be Atlanta again as they play a few home games here before trade deadline and All-Star break coming up in February. I was listening yesterday to Tyrese Halliburton on LeBron's podcast, Coach, and I'm always blown away, frankly, when Tyrese is talking about the game of basketball. And we played the audio a little bit earlier. He brought up specifically trying to learn a little bit, from a guy like Peyton Pritchard or going back to Austin Reeves when they were together on the World Cup and wanting to get to the foul line a little bit more, how to use your body contact, things like that as a driver. Has that been a conversation you guys have had here? As he obviously rehab is the first priority, but as he, gets back and playing coming up next season?
Yeah, I mean, going through an injury like this is a really difficult thing, obviously, but it presents an amazing opportunity, to study, to look back at, things that you've done well to establish yourself. In his case, I mean, he's one of the 15 best players in the world. That's that's been stated, it's been voted on and everything else. But the greatest players are the ones that keep studying how to get better and keep growing. And so, getting to the free throw line is really important. One of the reasons we were able to beat Oklahoma City last week was, they shot 30 free throws or whatever, but in the first game we played them, Gilgeous-Alexander shot 26 by himself. And so, we were able to keep his number of free throws, far lower than it had been. So it's such a potent weapon. And think about it, you're scoring points while the clock is stopped and no one is guarding you. So, he's thinking about the right things and he's been working very hard on everything.
I don't know if I have the exact title right, but I know Ty has talked about Jamie Rubin, who I think is like sports psychology for you guys, doing some team wellness stuff. And I'm curious, like going back to Friday and the Oklahoma City game and, Ty not coming to that game, was that like a big conversation that you had with them? Is that more of a Jamie Rubin conversation? I guess, how much do you dip your toes into that aspect of, him going through the mental aspect of this rehab?
Well, we're appropriate and we're necessary. I don't try to get in everybody's business all the time. In that case, Ty had talked to me about a couple of things, and one of them was the Oklahoma City game, and he just he asked if he could miss that game. He just wasn't ready to go back to that venue for obvious reasons, and I said, of course, no problem. And then he was going to join us in Atlanta, and then all the weather stuff happened, and then of course, look, the southern cities, aren't very well equipped for storms and snow and stuff like that. And I mean, you'll find this interesting, like, in whatever day it was, Sunday, we had a practice at 11 on Sunday. And then, the football games are on in the afternoon. So the Patriots, game's on first, and then the Seahawks game is on second. And so I'm in the hotel room trying to find the Patriots game on the CBS channel, and all they have on the CBS channel is emergency weather stuff the whole day. The game was never on. And so I had to watch the game on my laptop, on YouTube TV on my laptop in the hotel room. And, ironically, it was cold in Atlanta, but it didn't. There was a little bit of rain on Saturday night. On Sunday, it was cold. And then I get word that, the Hawks want to move the game up to like noon or something like that on Monday. And we couldn't do that because of our plane being ready to go after the game. And so we settled on 1:30 to move the game up. So we get to Monday, and it's sunny out. There's not even any precipitation. And so, we played the game early, which was a blessing, certainly of sorts, because we've been on a long trip and we were able to get home to our houses at, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. But it was, a lot of it was much ado about not very much with the weather. And then we played a very unusual game, on a Monday afternoon in downtown Atlanta. And so, there you go.
It was funny. They were showing like shots outside of the arena, it was coming back from breaks. And I was like, wait, this is why, this is what they're dealing with right now. Weather-wise, slightly different than probably Ogdensburg, New York growing up, I would say.
Well, back in Ogdensburg, we used to get tons of snow. We were on the St. Lawrence River, and I don't know if that produced lake effect or whatever, but we used to get feet of snow. And we got a lot of snowfalls like they got here in Indy while we were gone. And the snowbanks were piled up, 8-10 feet high, and so that was real snow. But a lot of things have changed. And as I got into aviation 10 or 12 years ago, I started learning about the weather. A lot of things have changed with weather patterns, and so we're in a world that's constantly changing. But you asked a question about Tyrese in Oklahoma City, and I went all the way over to trying to find a football game and weather reports and sunny conditions in Atlanta. So fortunately for us, we were able to get out of there in decent time after the game and get home. And man, oh man, it did snow here.
That is an understatement to say the least there. Next year, should I pencil you in? You and I making the trip up US 31, Virginia, Notre Dame?
Yeah, I may let the urge pass on that. I just it's a very long trip, and I don't know what our schedule is going to be.
Sure.
But I wouldn't say it's a definite no. But the game was 3 hours long. And I'm watching the game on my desktop computer, and I'm sitting there with my laptop doing some prep work for Chicago, and there was just one compelling thing after another. And I was a little surprised there's not very many people in the stands there. What's going on there?
I know. It's always frustrated me. The lack of fandom, the lack of passion is really, I get it, South Bend, Indiana, and the weather isn't great, but still, top 25 UVA team. Yeah, I was frankly frustrated by that.
17.
Right. Yeah.
Did you go to Notre Dame, or what's your fixation or fascination with it?
I'm too dumb and too poor. My mom's uncle taught there, and the trickle-down effect instilled the fandom into our family. So my brother's 5.5 years older, and he said, we will be Notre Dame fans. So first day of kindergarten, I rocked the Lou Holtz shirt, and from then on, I think growing up in the state, honestly, I have more basketball fandom than I do football fandom, which sounds weird to say about Notre Dame.
Well, there's quite a basketball tradition too, if you go back and all that. But
yeah, Digger was in the building last night.
Yeah, wow, interesting. Now, gosh, he must be. How old is he now?
I think we looked it up. I want to say mid-80s, but he's right there on press row, like second row, press row behind Notre Dame's basket. He's there pretty much every game. I see him on TV almost every game, and was moving and mingling with people, and looked to be doing great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, good luck tonight, Coach. Glad you guys got home safe, and we'll chat next week.
Okay, thanks. Take care.
Rick Carlisle, Mark Dykton. Wouldn't say it's a definite no.
No, I think the door is open for next year. I think you give him a little heads up next year, maybe see what the Pacers' schedule is, and hopefully that falls into a couple days off or something like that. And he seemed to leave the door open. He could have told you,
I can't say I appreciate the question, but I acknowledge the question.
Yeah, I would say
that wasn't the case at all.
I've had co-eds respond to texts from me back in the day a little harsher than Rick Carlisle just answered that invite.
He said, I wouldn't say it's a no.
Yeah.
So I would say dip your toe in the water next year once the schedule comes out and see if he's interested.
That'll be up on the podcast. We'll do it one final time here. Fan Morning Show.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mark, I'm looking for a little crossover talk at 2:45 between Jake Query and Derek Schultz this afternoon. What do you
Should
think?
be fascinating.
Dig that. Yeah, I like watching. You know, Rakestraw put that show together that they do the TV show on Tuesday nights too, which is always fun to there. We're about out of time, but before we go, Kevin Bowen, I think you have something to offer the folks out there.
Yeah, we got probably some people in the car with maybe kids on the 2-hour delay. If you want, Mark Dykton, 317-239-1070. Let's go text line, 317-239-1070. 4-pack of tickets, Butler, Georgetown, noon on Saturday. Noon Saturday, inside of Hinkle. No better place to be with the temps cold than Hinkle Fieldhouse. That is Butler and Georgetown. We'll give away 2 4-packs. Again, 317-239-1070. And again, Jeff, tonight is a huge one for the Dogs. They need to find, I think, 1 to 2 more notable wins. They beat that Virginia team I watched last night on neutral floor. They beat Seton Hall on the road a few weeks back. But still, I think a little bit more is needed. They don't have as many opportunities as other teams, i.e. Indiana, in the Big Ten. So tonight at St. John's qualifies as that, but Vegas has given them no respect. 12.5-point underdog.
All right. Text us 4 in a row. Just text the word 4 into the words 4 in a row.
Oh, geez. Now you're asking a lot out of these people.
No, it's 4 words. The number 4 in a row. You can do that. Give us a text, and we'll be more than happy to hook you up if you are selected by the one and the only Mark Dykton before the day is done. That's going to wrap it up for us this morning. Hopefully James Boyd is feeling better. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow morning. But either way, great job out of Kevin Bowen today from a late night back from Notre Dame. Mark Dykton, as always, I'm Jeff Rickard.